So when Dre came back the last time from being in St. Louis, he wasn't living with Robbie at the time. He came back and he said, Mom, he said, if anything ever happened to me, just know that Tim did it. What are you talking about? He said, well, just know Tim don't never do his own dirty work. But I got that fatal call from her about Dre. And I didn't want to answer the phone. You know, I just didn't want to answer the phone. And then she hung up and she called right back. And then that's when she was like, well, you know, the detectives was here. And already my heart is already slowing down, you know, and to the point where they want her to go down to the morgue to identify that was him. That was it. You know, it was like, it was so surreal. Everything was just rolling around. I'm just like, not my son. You know, not my son. Not my son.
What's up, good people? I got some echoing going on around here. Let me know that you can hear me in the chat by typing either justice for Dre. Hold on, I got a couple windows open. It's throwing me off. Let me know y'all can hear me saying justice for Dre until I figure this out. I think this is the one. I had too many windows open. There we go. I think that was the one. Throws you off when you're hearing yourself. It's like I can't push through. Normally I'd be faking it, like pushing through stuff. Y'all don't know I'm having issues, and I just keep going like ain't nothing happening. I couldn't do it. Especially when I'm tired, when I'm pushing through. It's harder for me to multitask. But thank you for letting me know that you can hear me by typing Justice for Dre. Over here on the YouTube side, we got Nicole, Mocha, Exquisitely, His MJ, Jamise, Delilah. Did I say Miss AMJ? Rochelle, Michelle, Miss FedEx, and the Jump, and everyone else who's letting me know that you can hear me. I greatly appreciate you for that. Also, thank you to everyone who is viewing on the Facebook and Instagram and YouTube side. Thank you to the 93% of you over here on the YouTube side who have voted to say that you have already liked and shared this video. I appreciate you. This video is actually by demand. This is a redo because we did it already. But this is in regards to the episode of On the Case with Paula Zahn, the episode that was in regards to Andre Montgomery and his life, and unfortunately taking of his life by his monster of a uncle, James Timothy Norman, who is currently serving life sentence for that crime. But anyway, Paula Zahn, they did a show on it. There's many more to come, but this was one of the first ones. Is this the first one? This first one to come out. And we tried to do a watch party a week ago, and it didn't work out. We got copywritten. We got blocked while we were on air. It's still available for some of y'all, but for some, depending on the region you're on, other of you cannot see it at all. So I was getting messages from people who never knew we even did it, saying, Vel, can you review it? Then I was getting messages from people who watched a little bit of it, but they were busy and they had planned to come back to it and it was gone. And they like, Vel, we still want it. So I'm like, okay, now my question is, how do I do it? Because I can't share the video with y'all or the audio. So my thought was there were a couple ways we could do this. One, I could just give my commentary period and just go through it. Because I was taking notes when I watched it. I watched it twice. Now I've watched it 3 times because I actually played it again today. But I was taking notes as I went, like of like highlights. So I could go through those notes, or, and I'm kind of leaning away from this, but I could also still play it. I'm gonna share the link for those of you who are not aware that it is also free and available on Daily Motion. So this is how no, this is not how I watched it. I watched it on my Amazon Prime. But this is a way for those of you who don't have any of those streaming platforms. It's on HBO Max and Amazon Prime. It's on a bunch of, I kept seeing people commenting saying it was also on. So it's pretty much everywhere. But if you don't have any of those services, you can definitely use that link I just put there, and you can watch it for free on thedailymotion.com. And oh, also, this is new. I just officially rolled out our channel membership this week, yesterday, maybe, I don't even remember, but it was this week. And so the channel membership, what that gives you over here on the YouTube side is the ability, you will have special emojis, which we have a few out now. And as we gain more people, it unlocks my ability to add more emojis. So I already got a few waiting. I got some more that I'm going to have designed. But you'll get special emojis. We'll have our own private live streams on a monthly basis. And I think I'm just going to go live over there like I do. Thank you. Marlena B just put some of the emojis that we have. Jackie as well. Thank y'all. So yeah, as you see, some of our channel members already are Marlena B, Jackie. I know Marianne is, Alice Blessed Child of God, and whoever else that I'm not seeing in the moment. So we got our VPO are joining it, and it's going to be a good time. But I was also saying that I can now do members only lives when I'm kind of putting shows together and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, you can now click the join button right below this video. But I've also, did I just do it? I'm gonna do it again if I didn't. I'm also putting the link here in the chat on both the YouTube and Facebook side of things. And if you're over there on Instagram, feel free to, actually, I'll just put it in. You can't click links on Instagram though, but I'll put it here anyway, just in case some of y'all want to type it out. Welcome, his MJ just joined as well. Thank you, friend. So yeah, that's what we got going on. We growing, things are happening. This has been in the works for about a year, but I wanted to figure out some things because we got Patreon too, and Patreon is still different. Patreon is very, very personal. This is personal, connected to the content we cover and stuff like that. It's basically me unfiltered when it comes to our content. And so thank you also, Rachel. And it's a way for you to support the channel and support me as we grow as well. So greatly appreciate it in advance to all of you who are joining our membership. So poll question I'm going to put out first, and then I think I'm going to just start yammering about it. I don't know what to do, because I really like the way we were doing it at first, but then we get blocked. First poll question I'm putting out here on the YouTube side is, have you watched the On the Case with Paula Zahn episode about Andre? And feel free to answer on any platform you're on. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, the polls are only available on YouTube, but you can feel free to answer in the chat on the platform that you are on. So it's like an hour-long episode. Well, it's like 40-something minutes because they got to chop it down and stuff for commercials and stuff. But it's about a 40-something minute episode. The thing about this, oh, I do have images and stuff. I just feel like I'm just playing it for y'all. Thank you, Shaquia, for joining the membership. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Wow, 57% of y'all still, man, most of y'all still haven't watched it. Oh my God, it's really high. Okay, this is making me think. Okay, so so this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do instead. I'm probably regret this in a while because it's gonna make the live much longer. But okay, so I cannot play it on the screen. But what we can do is, let me see. Let me do it this way. Because it's like half of y'all haven't seen it. So for me rambling, I don't know. I don't really like doing that. I like y'all to know what we're talking about. I like visuals. Y'all know that. Y'all know I was a national presenter at my corporate gig. So it's hard for me to just not have visuals. And should we watch it together with the sound and my commentary? Okay, so what I'm asking, some of y'all ain't gonna understand that, I know, because I'm the way I'm writing it. Should we, versus me just putting up some images and yammering off a couple things I had noted down because there's only a few things. Should we instead, I just sent the link out. I can send it out again. I mean, it's in the chat, but I could send out the link and we could all watch ourselves on our devices together simultaneously. And then I'll pause and stop and give commentary. I don't know, y'all, because it's not like it's got commercial breaks with the link I just sent out. Margin is saying, do whatever is good for you. I don't know what's good for me. That's why I'm asking. I don't know. It's throwing me off because I can't do it the way that would be good for me, which would be we watch it together and it's on the screen like this. And I can't do that because we'll get copywritten. We'll get blocked all over again. Miss Dixie Blue say you didn't know it existed. Friend, they've been inboxing me like crazy about this. Even for one, people were doing it when before I did the show, which made me do the show because it wasn't really on my mind to do a reaction to it. Then we did it. It was still people who never seen it, but on top of that, we got blocked. Then people were like, "We know you got blocked. I needed to go back up." And I was like, I can't make it go back up. See, we got 75%. I see some of y'all in the chat saying, "I'm with you, Vel. I like it." Yeah, I'm just a visual person. That's just how I roll. Don't show, just give your commentary. I would like to watch together once again. I won't watch it. I think you're saying online, maybe. We family. Okay, so it looked like most people are wanting to. You can just give your commentary. Well, based on the survey, should we watch it together with the sound only and my commentary? So even with the sound only, it's not going to be. So don't think you're getting full sound from my side. You're going to probably barely hear it. So you need to be playing it on your end as well. Yeah, I don't care about getting. I mean, if it get blocked, then this will just be another video that goes down the drain. It's like it's not a big deal. Did you watch it already? I've watched it 3 times now. Twice where I literally just sat and watched it. The third time was today while I was pulling some images and stuff. Where's the link? I will send the link out one more time. It's already in the chat. Actually, no, I didn't pin it, but let me put it out there again. Here's the link. I'm putting it out here on both. This is going out on both Facebook and YouTube. And I'm going to put it out one more time over here. I don't know. No, that was my channel membership I put out. I'm put it over here on Instagram. I know y'all can't click the link, but if y'all on another device and you want to type it out, there's the link. First Lady Teresa says, okay, I did my research. I don't know where to tell myself what's up. That's a totally different subject, friend. Hit me up in the in my text community. So, okay, so now I'm just gonna it's already up here on my screen. So you will hear the sound a little bit, and I'm gonna stop and go a lot based on my notes and what I noticed. Because that's gonna be another way to prevent us from getting blocked and pulled down. Because I cannot control that. And if they do it, All in, next thing you know, the screen go black and I'm gone. You're like, Vail, where you at, Vail? Like they was doing last time. Okay, how am I best do this? Can I put it? Yeah, I'll put it. My notes up here. I have to guess. Maybe. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Okay. Okay, let me pull this. I'll keep the images up because okay, I'll keep the images up. Okay, let's do this. Okay, we're playing. Okay, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Put ready in the chat if you're ready, or hold on if you don't have it up yet. Because I do want us to be in sync as much as possible. And when I pause, y'all gotta pause. Otherwise, we're gonna be it's still gonna be a mess. I already know it's still gonna be a mess. No matter what we do. Give your commentary and then we can watch together on Patreon. Patreon will still get pulled down. It's because it's still going through YouTube. So it is still the same thing will happen. Remember we tried that friend on with the Kirk Franklin bio that was a YouTube video. They pulled that down. They blocked us in the middle of us watching it. Can you put it in? Okay, I'll put it in the VIP community as well. Y'all putting me to work. Hold on, let me put the link in the VIP because that means I got to send it 4 times because I got to do it by time zone. Here we go. And then some people ain't gonna know what it's for. It's 1,400 people over there. They're gonna be like, "What's this for?" So now I got to put a message where I can't just send the link. Hold on, give me a minute. Bear with us. It's family time. We pulling together. I thought I put this in. I did. Did I? No, I don't know. I think I did. No, I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Okay. What am I saying? Okay, here's the link to the Andre Montgomery episode of what's it called again? What's the name of that show? On the Case. You know, y'all, I had never watched the episode of On the Case or didn't even know who Paula Zahn was to this. People would mention that name. I'm like, oh, okay, you're Paula Zahn. Okay. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Dang. And I gotta put all it. I know some people are like, why are you typing all that? I got to, because if I don't, I'll be getting so many messages, people confused of what's happening because everybody don't read everything that's coming out. So they'll be very lost of why I'm sending this link. I hope it makes sense though, because I'm typing and not comprehending completely. Okay. That's good. Okay, we send it. What time is it? Okay, yeah, it ain't too late to send it. There are also time restrictions on when I can text too. Okay, here we go. So that one went out to Pacific. Now we're doing Mountain Time because I got to do each time zone different. Just did Mountain. Now we're doing Central. Then we got to do, who's next? Eastern. Paste on Eastern. And then we got Vipo in Hawaii as well. So then Hawaii. Okay. All right. Let's see. Making sure everybody ready. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm seeing readies. I'm gonna have to move on even if I ain't at this point. How many minutes we in? We're 20 minutes in. We didn't even start doing nothing yet. Okay, great. Thank y'all for the updates that y'all ready. Just want your commentary since you are very knowledgeable about the case. It'll lead into that. We might not even get through the whole thing, to be honest. We just might not. Y'all got the link. I don't want you to lose money. Give your commentary. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. Yeah, the problem is I don't really even know where to begin. I need something to inspire me to talk. I mean, If y'all ask questions, that would be different. But just to ask me to ramble off stuff, I know so much that I wouldn't even know where to start. What do I start with? Where do I go with it? Thank you so much, Mish. Mel Shali is Melshi. I know I'm messing up your name, but thank you, friend, for your super sticker. I greatly appreciate you. And thank you for anyone who has been sending me Cash App, Zelles, and all that good stuff. Is that yeah, that's the right one. You know, with Cash App, I get the full amount. If you do a super chat or super sticker, you give you share 30% of your giving with YouTube, and they hold it for a month before I see it. So, but thank you in advance. But if you can send any donation, if you're so willing, to me via Cash App or Zelle, or whatever method works best for you. Okay, now I'm trying to pull this down. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's start playing the video. I'm all over the place. Okay, so I got it up. I'm about to hit play. Okay, here we go. See if y'all can get the sound. Let me know if y'all can hear that at all. It'll get louder with my mic the more I'm quiet.
Could they tell how extensive his injuries were?
Yes. He was shot multiple times in the torso. He was able to run into the house, but he succumbed to his wounds. It appeared to me to be a targeted hit.
I'm turning it down just a little bit. I ain't finna push it. If I turn it up too high, they're gonna get us.
Get that phone call about their child.
I've spent time protecting the country. I can't take my own brother.
At 7:07 p.m., Andre texts the address of his death.
Right after the shots were fired, it says, take yourself back to Memphis and don't come back.
Did the timeline cement your conviction that he was responsible?
Yes. He ended a young man's life, destroyed a family. He's a monster.
Now that's the hold on, can I mute this too? Where is it? That's the federal detective that I forgot if I'm muting. Hold on. Let me pause. That's the federal detective, not federal detective, FBI agent, Chris Faber, who called Tim a monster. For those of you who aren't watching it at the same time. Jasmine is saying, where can I watch the documentary at? I can't hear. Jasmine, I put the link to it in the chat a few times. So it is in the chat. If you just scroll up, you'll see the link to this, and you click on that and you'll be able to watch it online on Daily Motion. Okay, so let's get into it.
On vacation in St. Louis, Missouri. The city known for the Gateway Arch was also home to the successful TV series Welcome to Sweetie Pies. Over 9 seasons, it documented Robbie Montgomery and her family running a popular soul food restaurant. And the show also dealt with the family's heartbreak after 21-year-old Andre Montgomery was killed in a hail of gunfire. The mysterious murder forced police to put the pieces of a complex puzzle together until they discovered the painful reality behind who killed Andre and why.
And y'all feel free to put comments in there, because we may not get through the whole thing. We probably won't. I'm tired. We probably ain't gonna get through. Because with me stopping and going, this would end up being 2-3 hours, and I ain't got it in me because I just left alive. But you can put questions in the chat as well, and then that'll prompt me to think of some other stuff. Keep in mind that it took them 7 years to get justice for Andre. So the case, it was a pretty kind of a cold case for like 4 years before they were really getting movement. Although people knew pieces, like the family knew pieces, that people were able to communicate to the investigators, the police pieces of this, they couldn't tie it all together. And one of those things was they knew about Terica right away, pretty much within the first year of after Andre's life was taken. The problem was Terica didn't live in St. Louis when they make that connection of her. She didn't live in St. Louis, and they didn't have the resources to get to go and get her from Memphis. So they were having to wait for her to, they were telling the family, the only way we would be able to get her, although we know who she is, etc., is for her to end up in our jurisdiction and maybe we pull her over or something. But other than that, they couldn't go to her state and get her because of, you know, they didn't have the resources and jurisdiction to do that. But they knew about Terica fairly quickly.
March 14, 2016. It was just after 8 p.m. on a crisp spring evening when the sound of gunfire shattered the stillness of the St. Louis night. 911 call that followed meant no one on the city's violent crime squad would sleep for quite some time.
St. Louis police.
Stop.
You got shot.
Right.
Who shot him?
I don't know. Somebody came to the house.
No. Did you see the person that shot him?
No.
The scanty.
So that was the friends. I see somebody. It's hard for me to jump back and forth with displaying the comments on the screen, but Lady Day is saying, I'd like to think approximately what number are you on with the true crime investigation? It's on, I just paused it at 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Truth is, it's going to be hard for you to keep up just the way I'm pausing and stopping and going, but that's where I'm at now, 254. So the person who called was actually a person in the house. It was one of Dre's friends who called. I feel like they said it was multiple calls that came into, I feel like it was more than one that went into 911. That was the other thing I noticed about this documentary. And I get it. They did this episode, but they did a great job with it. They did an amazing job with it. But just for the sake of time, because they couldn't really dig into the nuances, some stuff they glossed over, some things they skipped, and just, you know, versus telling about the chaos that ensued in this moment when after Dre was shot and he runs into the house, he collapsed in the dining room, and his friends run up from the basement and there's shooting happening all over the place because people aren't sure what happened. Aaron is saying there were multiple calls, right? Like, and I'm just like, some of my memory, because it's been so long now, is like a little vague on certain details, but I'm like, I think I remember them definitely saying like it was a call from the owner, the guy who lived there, as well as Dre's friend. So there were multiple calls. Thank you so much, CYD, for the Cash App, friend. I appreciate you. Yeah. So, and then they'll talk a little bit more about that. So, and that's throughout this. Like, there are pieces where I'm like, hey, they skipped over that whole part of that story, that part of the story. So this is not the entire story. It's an overview of the entire story done from the perspective of the investigators. So this isn't, even though Miss Michelle and Darren and Kaylin, his siblings, two of his 5 siblings are in it. It's not their perspective. It's like just bits and pieces from them. But this whole story is told from the lens of the investigators and the prosecutors.
During the call, left police with more questions than answers. What did the caller report?
Someone at the residence had been shot, and that's really all we had responding to the call.
But the grisly details of a brutal
That's who's speaking now.
quickly came into focus as soon as the first responders arrived.
Officers located cartridge cases over in this area of the grass and the sidewalk, and then they located a blood trail coming up these stairs.
A trail of blood that led to a lifeless male victim just inside the doorway. Could they tell how extensive his injuries were?
Yes, he was shot multiple times in the torso.
Okay, I'm stopping at 339. I'll try to remember to do that when I think of it. So what they're showing now is what happened. So for those of you who don't know, who may not have heard the story before, Travell was actually standing outside of the house when Andre came out. So, and it's so funny that when I went by, these rails are now gone. I think one of them was left like towards the top, but these down here were gone. Oh, y'all can't see what I'm pointing at, but the ones at the bottom were the two at the bottom rails, they were not there. But during testimony, during the trial, Travell said that he was standing by the rail when Andre originally came out the house after Terica called and said she's outside and he was coming out to get his jeans. He says as Dre comes down the stairs, he asked Dre if he had weed, he had marijuana, like if he was selling whatever. They never said what Dre said or anything. They just said, and I think that was Travell during his testimony was saying that, but they didn't ask him, well, what did he say to you? They just glossed over that. And Travell said that he did that so that Dre would, so that he could hear Dre's voice, so that he can make sure it was him for sure, because he knew his voice, but he wasn't 100% sure it was him. So then Dre walks a couple spots down to where Terica was parked. He got in the car with Terica, talked to her for less than 2 to 3 minutes. She gives him the pants. His phone rings. It's one of his friends who is trying to find out where he's located because the friend was coming to the studio to hang out with him. So he gets out the car gets out of Terica's car. They say their goodbyes. And as he's walking while still on the phone, his friend is talking to him and he's giving him directions. The friend says the phone just drops and he doesn't know what happened after that. Terica speeds off because by that point, Travell had text Terica move. And so she said she just sped off. Dre, as he got closer to the stairway, is when Travell starts shooting at him because Travell is right in front of him. Dre then runs up the stairs. He collapses in. He gets hit. I think he got hit 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. 5 shots. He got hit 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. The ones in his abdomen is what took him out. 1, I think, was in the arm, 2 in the abdomen. He then falls, runs into the house, but he's collapsing. Dre then collapses. He goes through this door, the one that's open, and you can see the light peering through it. He goes through that door. That's the first floor. And then he runs through the living room, but collapses in the dining room by the dining room table. Now, the people in the house, his friends were still in the basement studio. They hear, that's Dre's phone too. I got my pictures all out of order. I was trying to do this without my glass. I can't see. So his friends were downstairs in the basement studio. They hear the gunshots. They start to run up to see what's happening. The guy who lived up on the first floor with his grandmother, he hears the commotion. He hears basically the commotion, but he hears like thumping, and that must have been Dre collapsing to the ground. At that point, Dre is still with us, but they said Dre was doing it like laid, and he was shaking his head, and they said he was praying. Sound like he was praying. And then Dre lost his life right there. The guy runs out. He runs out with his gun. The friends run up from the basement with their stuff, and people are shooting outside. One person got shot in the house. It was one of Dre's friends coming up the steps. And where's this? I thought I had that picture here, but one of his friends was coming up the steps. When he hears everything, he's trying to make sure. I don't know where it's at. Maybe I didn't pull it in, but he was coming up the steps. He was trying to make sure, to see what was happening, but he was being cautious as he was coming up the steps. The guy who lived there, oh, here it is. I don't know how well y'all can tell what's happening here, but these are the basement steps, and they lead into like the hallway, upstairs hallway where the kitchen and the bedrooms meet and all of that. The guy is coming up from it. It's dark. He's coming up with his gun. The guy who lives there has come out of his back bedroom. All he's heard is shot and thumps. So he sees somebody floating with a pow coming up the steps. He immediately shoots the guy. The guy drops the gun. I think he shot at him twice, but one hit him, one did not. Got shot in the arm. But then he realizes before it's too late that guy was friendly fire, so to speak. So then he sent that guy out the house. he was one of the people that called the 911, the guy who lived there. That guy was, leaking. Yeah, I'm on YouTube, so I'm gonna kind of watch my words. That guy was leaking. So he was like, you need to get out of here. Plus, he didn't know him. He didn't know the people that were in the basement. He wasn't a part of what was happening down there. His cousin was the one who ran, I feel like it's blurry. His cousin was the one who ran the studio down there. So he didn't know, the guy who lived there didn't know Dre. He didn't know, it was like 7 people down there or something. He didn't know most of them down there. So this guy comes out, all that happens. He was like, you go outside and you sit on the porch and wait for the police, sort of thing. So all that was happening. And yeah, I said all that to say all that was happening. So again, they kind of glossed over it. They couldn't get in depth like that. Okay, I'm pausing.
The young male victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Police collected his cell phone, found just feet from his outstretched hand, and sealed off the area. By the time homicide detectives arrived, officers had already identified the man shot as 21-year-old Andre Montgomery, a well-known local celebrity.
Andre Montgomery was on a show called Welcome to Sweetie Pies that was featured on the O Network.
The star of the series was the owner of the restaurant chain, Andre's grandmother, Robbie Montgomery, a legendary figure in St. Louis. What was his grandmother, Robbie Montgomery, famous for?
Miss Montgomery was a backup singer for Ike and Tina Turner.
After that career, she started this restaurant?
Yes, it brought in a ton of people within St. Louis. They were very well known.
And Miss Robbie's restaurant only became more successful once the Welcome to Sweetie Pie series was launched. During its 7-year run from 2011 to 2018, fans were introduced to Andre as the teenager who had moved from Texas to get a fresh start in St. Louis.
Okay, I'm pausing at 5 minutes and 6 seconds. So that was the other part, and I talked about this a little bit the first time around, where one thing that, because the family, Dre's family, the Griggs family, were unable to speak for 7 years because they couldn't say anything while this was being investigated. They couldn't, take to social media and say, we know Tim did it. This is what happened. And Dre said this. And he said, if anything happened to him, Uncle Tim did it. They couldn't say any of that. And then once he finally got arrested, they still couldn't talk because they couldn't say anything that would potentially affect the outcome of the case, the trial, in a negative way. So they had to be quiet then too. They weren't able to speak until Tim was convicted. By the time that was said and done, that was 7 whole years that they had to be silenced. If they hadn't been, there's a good chance that this would have all gotten messed up because Tim would have known earlier on that they were on his case, and they're going to tell him, Terica might not have been here to testify, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. So it had to happen the way that it did, but somebody was just, I just put it on a comment, somebody was asking if they participated in this. Yes, they participated in this, and you'll actually hear and see, if you're watching this, from Miss Michelle Griggs in a couple scant seconds. Oh, but why I paused it here was because during the show, what I didn't know at the time about the show. Now, I knew it was a reality show. I know reality shows are loosely scripted. That part I know. I wasn't naive to that. But what I did not know was that Tim was completely scripting these episodes. And, we knew Charles going on dates with certain people, all that. We knew some of that was scripted. But it was beyond that. Even the fact of Andre, the reason why Andre ended up there and the way that they tried to make it like, oh, Andre, it comes from poverty and he was not going to make it in life had he stayed where he was, that sort of thing. That was not true. It was all really about getting him on the show because Miss Robbie had mentioned him previous multiple occasions on the show, and people were starting to ask, well, where is your grandson, and blah blah blah. And so they saw it as an opportunity to enhance the show. And Dre, of course, wanted to be there. My grandmother's got money. She's, famous, blah, blah, blah. And so he wanted to be there, but it wasn't because he had to be there, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, we're resuming.
I talked to Tim about you staying here. We're going to give you a shot at that.
You mean I'll be able to stay?
Yeah, but there's a lot of rules that you got to go by. Whatever you want to do, I'm here to help you do it.
The cameras had captured what seemed like the beginning of Andre's bright future, and he hoped to parlay his TV fame into a career as a singer after he graduated high school.
Andre Montgomery.
So this is the graduation scene that many of us are familiar with.
Those TV dreams had come to a terrifying real-life ending.
What had Andre been doing in the city the night of the murder?
He traveled to the murder scene to film videos at the recording studio.
Crime scene investigators were now scouring an area that...
Okay, so they jumped a little bit. I paused at 6 minutes and 8 seconds. So here, this is this part I'm talking about. And I think they did an amazing job. It's TV. They gotta just kind of purge stuff to make it fit within the limited time they have. But he just goes to say, oh, he was there to film a music video. And then they just jump to like now the incident of what went down. Dre was trying to film a music video that day. He wasn't at that studio to do it per se. He actually was planning to film across the street in Fairground Park. So Fairground Park is directly across the street from that house. It's like just a huge parkway. So he was planning on shooting there. That studio, what I didn't even learn until a couple months ago after in conversation with the Griggs family, is that Andre had never been to that home on Natural Bridge before. That was not his regular place to studio to go to in St. Louis. He, in fact, never went to that side of town because of the reputation of it being dangerous and things that would happen there. So he normally would go to a different studio on a better side of town. However, he had met up with somebody who said they basically had to hook up, et cetera, come over here, and for whatever reason, he wanted to actually collab or do whatever with the guy. And so he went there at the suggestion of somebody he had just gotten to know. Now, his friends were hesitant. They like, I don't know about this. And he like, no, it'll be cool, this, So that's how they ended up at that place. That was Dre's first time at that location. First time. It was something else I was going to say. So yeah, but basically they kind of skipped over that part, like that was his first time there.
It had been filled with laughter and music just minutes before, with clues that might identify Andre's killer.
There was a recording studio in the basement that was inspected and photographed by our evidence technicians. Obviously, they located a large amount of blood around his body. But other than his cell phone and the ballistic evidence, there wasn't much evidence that was seized from inside that residence.
Still, officers were...
I guess I'm pausing again. 6 minutes and 42 seconds. So again, something else that just got glossed over. He said, besides, Andre's body and collecting samples around him, and the ballistics evidence, there wasn't really much going on over there. Well, by ballistics evidence, he means like all of the casings from and weapons that were there. There was a few, because the guy who lived there had a couple of his own pow-pows, and then a couple people there had pow-pows as well. One of the other things, well, I think they get into it here, but yeah, just so you know, there was a lot going on. So when he says ballistic evidence, there was quite a bit of it. However, because of, the forensic science behind all of that, they were able to determine which casings came from which pow-pows. So it wasn't no confusion about, okay, well, there are 20 casings here. How do we know who was doing what? No, they were able to identify based on each gun that they had what came from what, and they were able to determine that Trevel's shot off if I'm not mistaken, it was 5 total. 3 landed on Dre, 1 in his arm, 2 in his abdomen area.
Able to compile a theory of the crime. Based on the location of the shell casings, what could investigators determine about how the murder unfolded?
We could determine that Andre Montgomery was outside at the time the shots were fired. You could tell from the blood trail that he had ran into the house as he was being shot and eventually died on the floor of the living room.
Would that suggest then that he had been ambushed?
Correct. It appeared to me to be a targeted hit.
But who would have wanted the popular and well-liked young man dead? Police quickly began to explore the most likely reason for an attack on a member of a well-to-do family. Did it appear as though robbery might have been a motive for the murder?
It did not. His wallet was found in his pocket, and he had jewelry around his neck.
Once robbery was dismissed, investigators focused on the details of the attack that seemed personal, and they hoped to find someone who had seen or heard something that might fill in the blanks.
So in the very beginning of it, as they were trying to, figure out what the heck just happened here, we got all these supposed friends around, et cetera, and nobody knows what happened to Dre. They started looking at them first. Like, well, what did y'all have to do with this? And is the version of the story y'all telling us that he just randomly went upstairs and outside on his own while the rest of y'all sat down here? Is that made up? It was also odd because Dre had people with him to help protect him. So the fact that they let him go out was strange to some people, because it's like, well, y'all supposed to be looking out for him, so he shouldn't even be nowhere by himself. The problem or the situation they ran into, it was just like a perfect storm, really. When you look at all this, how Tim plotted on him for years, how he ended up back there for the lie detector test, but then ended up staying because he got comfortable thinking that Tim was still in LA. Although he knew Tim was after him, he thought he was safe. The crazy part about it, though, is that he told his own family, if something happens to me, my Uncle Tim did it. And he also told his mom, Uncle Tim never does his own dirty work. But he gets there and he forgets that part, that his uncle doesn't do his own dirty work. So it didn't matter that Tim was supposedly, he was at the time, in LA. Your uncle gonna still be able to do his dirty work and have other people do it, which is what he had done. So you got that. You got Dre staying longer than he originally planned. That worked out for Tim, unfortunately. You got Dre in an area that he normally wouldn't be in, that is known for high crime and high rates of, young men of color being, taken. So then when that happens, it also sets it up like, oh, this is probably just another random drive-by or something that happened over here. But then you got the fact that Dre had let down his guards, because in his mind, his protection ain't got to go upstairs outside with him, because I'm just going to holler at this girl. And we ain't got to worry about it. That's a girl. She flirting with me. Perfect storm. Had his friends went out, especially the way they described that Travell had been wildly, Travell was high. Travell was wildly shooting and all that other stuff. There's a good chance they would have got Travell that night. Like, there's a really good chance they would have got him had his boys been right there and in the ready. So it's sad and unfortunate. Okay, we're gonna continue.
What were some of the most critical discoveries you made as you tried to create a timeline of this crime?
Several of the witnesses on the scene, friends of Andre, indicated that he was going outside to meet with a female.
Those friends said that Andre had walked outside alone and that none of them had actually seen the shooting, but they all had heard it. Officers fanned out around the neighborhood looking for someone who could provide more details. During the canvass, they noticed a security camera that might have captured even more valuable evidence.
What did the surveillance video in the area show?
It's from a street over, and what that shows is a dark figure walking around the corner towards where the murder occurred. And then moments later, that same figure is seen coming through the backyards into an alley and running down the street.
Were you pretty sure that you were looking at the killer on tape?
I believe that was.
It quickly became clear that the video would not be as helpful as police hoped. When you looked at the video, was there anything that you saw that would help lead you to a suspect?
No, you couldn't decipher age, gender, race.
How challenging did that make the early days of the investigation?
Cases like this are very challenging. We didn't have a witness. It makes it really hard.
And police were all too aware that the next step of the investigation would come with an even more difficult task.
Okay, so I'm pausing at 9 minutes and 53 seconds. So the interesting thing for me, and I didn't really expect to find out anything, be enlightened necessarily, or find out anything new until I found out that as I was watching, I was like, oh, this is from the perspective of the investigators. Well, one of the things, because I was at the trial, I was like, oh, I pretty much know everything that they've been putting out there. The thing was, they never shared this during the trial. I think this is the actual video footage, if I'm not, surveillance footage. They never shared that during the trial, that they had actual surveillance footage from somebody's house on Travail. They never shared that during the trial, showing, well, but for one, and I mentioned this the last time too, it's not like they said the problem was that they couldn't identify the figure. So, you know, in court, you gotta, only things that are admissible are like things that are factual, that, you know, are concrete evidence. It's not really concrete evidence, but they didn't even mention it at all. And even I was talking to a Griggs family member, and they were saying they had no idea either. So the investigators weren't sharing this sort of information with them either. I see a couple, put it on screen. AR is saying, was Tim and Robbie in his life prior to the show? Like, did they all have a relationship, or were they estranged? I mean, in his younger years, Miss Robbie was on the road a lot. They had a relationship, but she was he was raised primarily by his family members, not because, you know, they didn't love each other or whatever. His mama was on the road with Tina Turner and whatever else she was doing. So he was primarily raised by his aunts, grandmother and aunts and uncles and stuff. But once she settled down, or her career was over, you know, she was around. They had a relationship. So yeah, they had a relationship, but she was on the road a lot. I don't know how else to describe that, but yes. So of course that affects, like, you know, of course that's going to affect the dynamics. But it wasn't like fake. I don't know, from Tim's perspective, you don't know what the hell's fake. So I ain't speaking about him. I don't know for sure. I did not know it was Dre's first time at the house until you said it. Yeah, that was a new discovery for me just a couple months ago as well. Okay, so we're gonna get right back into it. I think I saw a couple more questions. I'll star them and answer them during the next little pause. All right, we're resuming.
Asking the grieving family who might have had a reason to want Andre Montgomery dead. While St. Louis police were searching for clues that would identify Andre Montgomery's killer, his family, including his grandmother, Robbie, was just finding out about the tragedy. Who broke the devastating news to you?
Robbie called me at 1:30 in the morning, and I instantly knew something was wrong. And she told me that the detectives was at her house. They wanted her to come down to her. body that may be Andre.
So this and next part, you're hearing the voice of Michelle Griggs being interviewed by them. So if you have not seen it, I highly suggest that you watch my interview with Miss Michelle Griggs, where she talks about this. We had a 4.5-hour conversation. I aired about 2 hours of it. It's a 2-parter. Some of y'all only watch part 1. You're missing out on part 2. Check them both out. I'll put it in the chat in a minute once it starts back. But in that interview that I did with her, she goes really in depth. Everything from Andre's birth to actually from pregnancy all the way through his birth, her interaction with his father, her relationship with Miss Montgomery, Miss Robbie, in the very beginning when she first ever talked to her, all the way through to, you know, when as Andre was growing up, their relationship, all that stuff. And then stuff I can't share. But definitely check out that interview if you haven't. We're resuming. Oh, that was it. I was at 11 minutes and 12 seconds, so I'm starting at that.
Andre's mother, Michelle, felt helpless. She was in Lubbock, Texas, 850 miles away.
Let's just pray that it's not him. So, Robbie called back and she said, yeah, it's Andre. No parent should ever have to get that phone call about their child.
Michelle and Andre had always shared a special bond.
So what's up?
What's up, people?
What you doing?
Walking with my handsome son.
Go handsome.
How would you describe him?
Andre was goofy. He was always doing something to make you laugh. He was lovable. He was happy.
He loved his family, loved his friends. He had a shirt, gave it to you. Money, he'll give it to you. He just had a warm personality about him. He was just a loving person.
You're hearing the voice of, that was just the voice of Darren Griggs, who is Andre's older brother. He's the oldest of all of the siblings. He is, I think, 11 years older than Dre. And at the time when Dre was taken, I think he was still in the military, but I'm not 100% sure. But he's grown, like had a family and all that stuff that wasn't living in home and all of that. Okay, we'll continue. I had just paused it at 12 minutes and 28 seconds.
Dre's vivacious personality had been a source of joy to everyone who knew him.
He loved dancing, singing. He always was making up some rap.
Where do you think Andre saw himself going in life?
Something with the music. That's what he loved. He had the opportunity. He was smart. He had talent.
Andre hoped that his grandmother's popular reality TV show would be the platform that launched his own show business career. How close were Andre and Miss Robbie?
It was really close. That was his grandma. He looked up to her because she was with the original I Continue Trend.
I want to make you proud, and I want to make my mom proud, the whole family proud.
And that relationship is what brought Andre to St. Louis.
Was it hard for him when he moved to St. Louis?
No, I was all for it. 100%. Like, you go do your thing. You make us proud.
And also on that note, I do have the Griggs family, the siblings, the Griggs sibling family. Oh, geez, I'm getting tired. I can't even put my words together. The Griggs siblings. I have an interview with them, an exclusive interview with all 5 of them as well. That will be coming out in May. I'm pushing through. I had some creative blocks and all of that, but that interview is coming out as well And we'll do a watch party on that. That may be a members only watch party or something. I'll figure it out. But that'll be released. Maybe it won't be members only, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll do an early. That's what I'll do. I'll do an early release for members only or something. But yeah, so that's coming as well. And no one else has interviewed all of the. No one else has interviewed all of the siblings. I feel like there was a question. Oh, there was. I started something, didn't I? Yeah. AR is asking, why was he after him? That question, all we can do is speculate, because Tim is really truly the only person who can fully answer that. And I think depending on who you talk to, you might get a slightly different answer. So in this, when you're talking to the prosecutor, Angie Danis, who is one of the assistant prosecutors, she says for sure it was about the insurance policy. You know, he had the $450,000 insurance policy out on Dre. She was like, that's what it was about. He was money hungry. He was greedy. We do know that. Those things, that's true. I ain't saying that's not true. However, what would even make him want to pull it out on him in the first place? There are some of you, and I think I know I just saw it in the chat even, where some people's like, oh, he wanted to make sure that Miss Robbie's legacy and her money was only left to him. That's a theory. That probably has a bit. It's probably a cake mix of stuff with that. I think it's the money for the insurance policy, could possibly be the potential inheritance that would be coming down the pike, because only Dre and Tim were like her direct bloodline. Then when you talk to Miss Michelle about it, and she said it in her interview as well, if you check it out, she said that Dre was the last living Montgomery. He was, as far as for the bloodline of males in the family, he's the only one. He was the only one that could continue that legacy. Tim is not a Montgomery. Tim is a Norman. So his last name is Norman, for those of you who don't know. Well, maybe I can put the pieces together. So that's a theory that's out there as well. Then the other piece that most people know is that Dre obviously knew too much. Dre obviously knew too much. Dre knew a little too much about Tim's dirt, to the point that he told his own mama that if something happened to me, Uncle Tim did it, because Uncle Tim don't do his own dirty work. Hold on, I'm thinking, because I gotta be. I'm always trying to be mindful of what's public information and what's not. Some of this is autopilot, so I don't have to think too hard. This piece, I'm like, is it made public? Maybe be safe. I don't say it. I don't think it's. Okay, I ain't gonna say it because I can't remember where I originally heard it from. But let's just say that Dre confronted Tim about knowing, or confronted Tim and threatened to tell his business, tell what he know. And Tim then threatened him. And then, well, it was months later. But yeah. Shanice's like, friend, nope, be quiet. Nicole, it's the thinking for me, right? I had to think hard. I'm like, wait a minute, don't go on autopilot of talking. This ain't Darius Crooks we're talking about. I can't just be autopilot. So yeah, I won't say it. I won't give any details, but just know that Dre definitely knew a lot, and Tim knew that Dre knew a lot, and Dre let him know, hey, keep messing with me, and it might get out. And Tim made sure whatever that stuff is, didn't get out, because we still don't know what it all is. We just know this. We are resuming at 13 minutes and 46 seconds.
But Andre's close ties to his grandmother also had a downside. Following a headline-making burglary at her home, Andre became a suspect because the evidence indicated it had been an inside job.
What happened in the burglary?
Miss Robbie Montgomery left on vacation, and when she arrived home, she reported approximately $150,000 in cash and maybe about $50,000 in property had been taken out of the residence.
The ransacked home led police to believe that whoever was behind the burglary knew the money was there.
How badly torn up was her house?
Her house was destroyed. They cut items open, such as furniture, to look for cash.
And there was more. Robbie Montgomery told police that she had set her alarm before she left town.
Other than Mrs. Montgomery, did anyone else have the security code?
She reported to police that approximately 4 or 5 people had the security code to her alarm system.
Andre Montgomery was one of them, and his behavior after the crime raised additional red flags.
Andre had moved out of town with an acquaintance of his.
But perhaps the most troubling detail was his grandmother's suspicions.
Do you remember what she told you?
She wanted me to contact Andre to see if he had anything to do with it.
Pausing at 15 minutes and 30 seconds. Oh, geez, we got a long way to go. I don't know if we're going to make it, y'all. I'm going to try. Y'all let me know if y'all okay with this. I don't know. I feel y'all know how I am. My perfectionist spirit is like, this feels sloppy. Anyway, the break-in. We are all, any of us who are real, watch the show, we're followers of the show, we were fans of the show, et cetera, et cetera. We all know about the break-in. We all know. If you don't know about the break-in, you wasn't watching it. You wasn't watching. Catch up now, though. So, here's the thing. Remember when Miss Robbie's house was broken into, she went to LA where Tim was on vacation. So it appears to her like, well, although 5 people got the code to my house, she being one of them, I guess Tim being one, that brings it down to 3, I guess, 3 or 4. It couldn't have been my son because he was with me. A good con artist know that, though. Oh, I know how to rule myself out real quick. I'm going to be with that person as I give y'all the code to get in. So that was part of it. Tim was with her. She comes back from vacation. Her house is broken into. Dre wasn't living there at the time. So now it's being blamed on, well, I don't know why they outruled the other people. I've seen comments like, well, why they didn't interrogate the other people or ask them to take lie detectors. We don't know that. We don't know. No one has ever, they never said who the other people were who had the code, her alarm code. They never said, even during the trial, it was no mention of the steps they took to outrule those people. For some reason, well, I ain't gonna say for some reason. I can say this. The sights got put on Dre real quick. Here's how. So again, Tim is out of the equation because he's there with Miss Robbie at the time when her house is being robbed, burglarized. Dre ends up, he hears that he's now being suspected or blamed, and he's like, I ain't had nothing to do with that. I would never do that to my grandmother. He's dating a girl, and so he ends up going to Florida with this girl he was dating, which was just not unusual for him based on what the family says. He's kind of he's a nomad. He just kind of floats around. And so also because he had already had the incident with Tim where he's like, I know your dirt and I'll tell it. Tim was like, you need to get your ass out of St. Louis and don't you ever come back, blah, blah, blah. Well, word on the street is that Tim also said, get out of town because people are after you or whatever, and gave Dre a wad of money. Gave Dre a wad of money that was from the Sweetie Pie's restaurant. So Tim, as they even talked about in the court, even hell, the weekend that he took had Andre's life taken, he had flown in from flown in from LA, because even when he was living in LA, he would fly in to St. Louis and do the drops, like take the money out of the safes and stuff at the various restaurants. For whatever reason, Miss Robbie, that was his job, even though he was states away. And she had sued him. This is the thing. She sued her own son for finagling her businesses and creating businesses without her permission and putting her in debt and this other stuff I can't talk about. But he ain't the one you suspect, huh? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So he's the person who's responsible for doing these drops. He pulls the money out or whatever. And Tim admitted in court. Now, we're doing the transcript readings over on my Reality Chronicles channel. We just finished earlier this evening. And we're going to be doing it next week as well. We've been doing it for months. There's a bunch of episodes over there where we literally read through the transcripts. Tim says himself, we ain't got to this part yet in the transcript reading though. Tim says himself that when he would go to the restaurants and pull the cash out of the safes and stuff, it would be $60,000, $80,000, $100,000, depending on the weekend or how good the week was. Tim said that he would pull out anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 plus in cash and put it in his own bag. He would cash out of each restaurant, $10,000 here, $20,000 here. After he done collected money from all the various restaurants, this is when they had all the locations open. He'd be walking around with $30,000 to $50,000 in cash. The thing about the restaurant was they rubber band. Miss Robbie always used the rubber bands from the vegetables, from the collard greens and whatever else. She would use those rubber bands they count the money and band it together. So Tim gives Dre this money. Now, however he described it to Dre exactly of why he giving him this wad sum of money, and we don't know the exact amount, but it might have been, let's say, 5,000, a couple thousand, whatever. He gives it to Dre. Now, his family will even say in interviews, even the one I'm editing from the siblings, that Dre, he's the typical kid. He get a little money. He running the social media. He fanning it out, all that flossing. Look at what I got. All of that. Tim knew this about Dre. Tim expected that. So Tim gives him the money. People are alleging that he gave it to him saying, this your money to get out of town, blah, 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 this and that, people after you or whatever. Yes, thank you for the reminder, Cheryl Knight. Please like this video, share it if you have not as of yet. I'm giving you tea. I'm giving you stuff people don't know. So Dre gets the cash from Tim. He leaves town with this girl, his girlfriend, one of them. That's a whole nother story, one of them. And so he does just what was expected. He gets online. I ain't finna show y'all my money. I was about to show money. Like, can't be letting people know I keep cash. He's fanning his money and doing all that online like they do. He's also a drill rapper that got to throw cash on the bed and fan it and make it rain and all that stuff. So he's doing all of that with however much money that Tim gave him. Now, at the same time, Tim got the narrative going out that that Dre, watch out for Dre. Y'all let me know if y'all see anything funny with him, because mama house got broken into and they stole money. And if you see him doing stuff online, just watch him. Let me know. Sure enough, what Dre doing? Flossing the money that Tim gave him, the rubber bands from the restaurant, because Dre still got the rubber bands on the money that come from the restaurant. Tim now got everybody. Tim, I see this picture. He online. He look at him. He got money. He doing stuff with money. Tim like, yeah, that's mama money. And then Tim go to his mama. Ma, look, this is the money from the restaurant. Look at what Dre got. It's got your rubber bands on it. And she like, he stole from me. That mother, he stole from me. That nigga on the you know, Miss Robbie, she cursed like a sailor. He got it. So now, not only he set him up in advance, because again, Dre was in Miss Robbie's good graces before this. She was looking out for Dre. Dre was her baby still. Tim knew this. We knew this. How do not get her to turn on him and make all the favor be on me. I'm going to make it look like he did the one thing she will never accept from nobody, except for me, Tim, except for me. And that's stealing. Now, I can steal from her, but nobody else. Nobody else. I can steal from her weekly with weekly drops, but nobody else. So, long story short, that's how the sights got set on Dre. So Dre leaves town. Well, Dre leaves town for one after this, but he's like, I'm getting away from all this BS because now my name being brought up in something I ain't had nothing to do with. The other piece was he got a girl and she's in Florida or whatever. So he's there. And then on top of that, Dre actually had money that he was playing around with online, showing on social media. So Tim is, this is orchestrated beautifully. It's working out for him. Now, the crazy part is during all of this, oh my God, I'm forgetting my train of thought. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. So let's play this next part because they're talking about the house break-in. It'll come back to me. Oh, I just unpaused that. 15:33 is where we're at now. 15 minutes and 33 seconds.
Like, I would never do that to my grandma. I love my grandma.
But Miss Robbie wasn't convinced.
She was just cussing him out, and he was like, Grandma, I'm trying to tell you I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
That's his second oldest sister, Kaylin.
Miss Robbie's continued suspicions made Andre determined to do whatever it took to clear his name. He immediately returned to St. Louis to cooperate with the investigation.
So there's another piece in here. She says he immediately returned to St. Louis to do his lie detector. Again, they had to chop it up and make it quick, but that's inaccurate. It was 9 months before Dre returned to St. Louis. He left. He knew that Tim was after him. He had been to Florida. He ended up eventually back in his hometown of Lubbock, Texas, with his mama, his siblings and stuff. And he was there. He was living his life. Miss Robbie was trying to hunt him down. And he was like thinking it was a setup with Tim and all of that. And so he was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going, et cetera, et cetera. So then Miss Robbie eventually gets him via text. There's another piece. I'm like, I don't know if that's out, so I ain't gonna say it. But Miss Robbie ends up texting him. No, they had a phone conversation as well. It was both. Had a phone conversation where she's like, you need to, why you running is what she was saying. And he's like, I'm not running, Grandma, blah, 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 this and that. Tim is after me, da, 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 this and that. You stole my money. She, da, da, da. She cursing him out. Now, Kaylin and his sister Asia were around for this conversation. Dre had Miss Robbie on speakerphone, and they both recount the story verbatim. That Miss Robbie disowned Dre in that conversation, said, you effing, ninja, I'm not going to come to your funeral. Don't you come to mine, blah, 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 this and that. She disowned him. He gets off. He's distraught. Now, what we saw as a part of evidence was Dre, the text communication between Andre and Miss Robbie. I did a whole video on it. I'll put that in the link too. Some of y'all don't know. I've been covering this for 3 years? 3 years. No, 4 years. Well, no, it'll be 4 years in August. Wow, 4 years. It'll be 4 years in August. I've been covering this. No wonder I know so much. So, in that text communication, Dre is telling Miss Robbie that he did not do it. He's like, I'm not running. I didn't do it. I would never do that to you, but I am staying away because Tim is after me. Miss Robbie's ignoring that. Now, we're watching the text thread. It's all a part of the court evidence. She's not responding to any of that. She's just still accusing him and saying, you need to come here and take the lie detector test. So he then decides that he's going to, in his own words, take one for the angels, and he's going to go and take the test, take the lie detector test. However, he's told her with the police, he said that he's going to come in town, take that test, and fly right back out of town because he knows Tim is after him. The problem is when he got there, He found out, word on the street, Tim ain't here. Tim is in LA. And he's like, oh, I'm good then. I ain't got to worry about him. I ain't seen my people in months, like 9 months. Let me go, see everybody. He's friendly. Everybody love him, all that stuff. He's making his rounds and trying to shoot a music video and collaborating and everything else while he's there before he go back home. And Tim got him. I'm gonna put this link of the video. I just found it in the chat, but we're gonna keep it moving with this. We're only at 16 minutes to 2, and it's a weeknight and it's late. But if y'all hanging in there, I'm gonna put a poll out and see if y'all want to continue with this. Do I need to fast forward? Okay, 16 minutes and 2 seconds. We're resuming.
Why was it so important to him to go back to St. Louis to take a polygraph exam?
To prove to Robbie that he didn't steal from her. But he told us he got to go and prove his innocence.
And that's just what Andre did. He passed a polygraph exam and convinced police he had no role in the crime.
The police report that was written by the investigators clearly states Andre Montgomery is no longer considered a suspect in this burglary.
Andre was relieved, but that feeling of vindication was short-lived. Just days after being eliminated as a suspect, Andre Montgomery was murdered.
Why would somebody want to kill my brother?
Detectives turned back to the only clue they had that might help answer that question: Andre Montgomery's last phone calls.
Andre was communicating with an individual who they believed to be a female over his cell phone.
But his phone record.
I'm pausing at 17 minutes and 17 seconds because I don't want to gloss over the fact that I've still seen it in comments and stuff where people are still saying that Dre broke in Miss Robbie's home or had something to do with it. He was cleared by the St. Louis Police Department. He took the lie detector test. He was completely cleared as a suspect. So that narrative needs to go out the window. And on top of that, it was talked about in court. It was mentioned in court. But that is the narrative that's never taken shape. Like, it hasn't gotten out to the public. There only those of us who follow it very closely are aware of this. But as far as the mass public, Dre still has mud on his name when he was vindicated by the St. Louis Police Department as not being a part of that break-in. Now, they never said how far the investigation went to figure out who actually did. We ain't heard no more about that part. Maybe because that person already in jail, serving a life sentence for something else, if you know what I mean.
Added more for police to consider. That call wasn't the only one Andre received just before he walked out the door into a hail of gunfire.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I knew I was going to forget. I'm pausing at 17 minutes and 32 seconds. The break-in. This is what I knew it was going to come back to me. So during the trial, the private investigator who Miss Robbie hired. Now, some I ain't saying what I'm saying. I'm saying what some would say. What I've heard, what I had heard on the street, people's thoughts about this whole scenario. When Miss Robbie's home got broken into and she reported to the media. Now, the investigator here just said 150,000, but I think we were seeing in the media it was 250,000. When we got to the trial, and the private investigator Miss Robbie hired to hunt Dre down to try to figure out if he broke. Well, she was determined that he had broken in. So that investigator had Dre had a storage unit. The investigator was able to get into that storage unit, found nothing there. It was empty. So then the narrative they tried to put out during the trial, Tim's side, was that, oh, by the time they got to the storage unit, Dre had cleared everything out. No, Dre didn't have nothing. That's all that is. Dre didn't have nothing. But then they tried to claim that Dre had the upstairs apartment in the place where he was his life was taken on Natural Bridge. There's a 2-flat building, 2 apartments. upstairs was a vacant apartment, and they were trying to put out the narrative that Dre and his friends had taken the stuff, Miss Robbie's, her stuff, all her belongings. They said it was masters from her music. Tim had scripts and all kind of music equipment and all of that stuff. They say all that stuff was stolen, furs and all that stuff too, jewelry, all that cash. They saying that Dre had a storage unit, but it was empty. I don't know why it'd be empty if that's where everything went. Then when that didn't work, they said, well, no, that apartment in that house was vacant. So he probably had everything up there. Then they said also, well, Dre, Tim's attorney tried to ask the police, well, did you see any of Miss Robbie's equipment in that studio? Meaning they tried to say that Dre took Miss Robbie's, their studio equipment there and took it over there to that house on Natural Bridge, a place he had just only been at once. That was his first time. So that was testified to by the detective, and actually we'll be reading that next week. I think the detective comes up next week in our transcript reading on our Reality Chronicles channel. So he was also asked, well, how much cash did Miss Robbie tell you was stolen? And her private investigator on the stand, I got the transcripts, ain't nothing I'm making up, transcripts, he says, Judge, do I have to answer this? And the judge is like, yes. Like, why wouldn't you have to answer it? And he says, what about attorney-client privileges? And he was like, are you an attorney? And he said, no. He's like, well, you need to answer this question. So when Miss Robbie's private investigator answered the question of how much she told him was missing in cash, he said $2 million. Cash. So that we can go from that from different angles. If Dre and his friends were responsible for stealing $2 million in cash, you would know it. You would see it. I mean, he was whatever little amount that Tim gave him, he was flossing. Imagine if it was millions. You don't think they have a Bentley or Rolls Royce? Dre didn't have no car. Dre didn't have no apartment. Dre was a nomad. If Dre had millions, hell, let's go with the low side of that. The original 150 that this detective said. Now, we again saw it in, who's that? Sweetie Lies. I love that, Jessica. I'm have to use that, Sweetie Lies. Let's go with 150K or 200K, whatever. Pick it, whatever. Either one. A 20-year-old and his friends who supposedly did this dirty deed, y'all don't think they about him a car? Not a car with some rims? Not some $10,000 gym shoes? Something. Why he ain't have none of that? Oh, now he gonna get wise with his spending? Now he gonna say, well, yeah, I took 150 or 200 or $1 million or $2 million. I split some of it with my friends, but I don't want to look like I took it, so I'm gonna not spend it. I'm gonna still not get a place to stay. I'm gonna still not get a vehicle, and I'm gonna still be asking people for $20 here or there. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Meanwhile, Tim in LA hopping on a flight within 3 hours of finding out that his mark has landed in St. Louis and he can come get him now. So anyway, that is so much to this, y'all. Oh, and that's just the stuff I can share. That's just the stuff I can share for now. All right, we're back to it. I'm pausing at 17 minutes and 32 seconds.
Investigators believe the key to finding Andre Montgomery's killer might be the mysterious phone call he received just before he was shot. But police still didn't know who he had spoken with.
Several of the witnesses on the scene indicated that he was going outside of the residence to meet with a female.
But Andre's phone log told a different story. Who had Andre been communicating with right before his murder?
A friend of his who had graduated high school with him, who was going to meet him at the house where they were.
We tracked that person down, spoke with them.
Andre was giving his friend directions to the studio when the call was interrupted by the unmistakable sound of gunshots.
He was on a voice call with him when the line went dead.
Andre's friend said he was still miles away when the murder took place, and the GPS in the young man's phone confirmed he couldn't have been the shooter.
There was no motive for this individual to kill Andre Montgomery, and he was cooperative with police.
The young man's story focused police on the call Andre made just prior to the one with his high school friend.
The people in the basement said that Andre was talking to a female.
As investigators studied Andre's phone records, they found a call with a woman that matched those witness accounts.
That person was saved in his phone as Alexa. She had been communicating with Andre throughout the day.
Investigators noted Andre had exchanged dozens of text messages with Alexis. The words were flirtatious, and it was clear the two had planned to see each other in person.
Based on the text messages with her, it looked as if she was just trying to find out where he was so that she could meet up with him.
What unfolded in the following text?
At 7:07 p.m., Andre Montgomery texts the address of his death.
Less than an hour later, Andre was murdered outside that address. Detectives wanted to know everything they could about Alexis DeGreat, but police quickly realized that name wasn't her real one. How did he know her?
They had met at the strip club where she was working in East St. Louis.
Detectives linked the stage name, Alexis DeGreat, to a social media account, which provided them with critical information.
We were able to identify her as
only for the sake of copyright. I want to leave it talking too long. So we get to Dre and Terica. Dre, just by happenstance, met Terica at the Bottoms Up Club, strip club in Brooklyn, Illinois. And when he came in there, he was making it rain on her, and they ended up exchanging information, and he asked her if he would be able to see her outside of the club. Y'all know what that means. She said, fine, blah, blah, blah. They exchanged information. Now, from the sounds of it, they're a little loosey-goosey with that story. Like I never saw like a complete timeline of like, well, they exchanged their information. It happened on this date. Then they talked every day, or they didn't talk for 3 weeks, and then this happened. It was just very loose. Like all I know is they met in the club. He was making it rain on her. He asked if they would be able to meet after. She said yes. They exchanged information. Then it's kind of like the story just jumps to, when Tim finally, Tim in some way, and maybe from friend, I'm sure he did a social media deep dive, maybe looking through either Andre's friends or Terica's friends. I don't know how he did it, but he figured out that they were following each other. And through that, he figured there was a connection there, or had already put the pieces together. So by the time he invites Terica over, when he flies in from LA with just the sole purpose to get Dre, he reaches out to he lands in, he finds out that Dre is in St. Louis sometime in the evening on that Saturday. No, early, I think afternoon. By that evening, he has booked his flight and he's landing in St. Louis at midnight. White boy Chris picks him up, takes him to go get a rental car. Then white boy Chris follows Tim to the Chase Park Plaza Hotel because he's kind of like acting as his security. Tim gets there. Tim then immediately tries to reach out to Terica. It's in the middle of the night though. So, and then her phone is off. The number he had for her no longer works. So he hits her up in Messenger on Facebook saying, hey, you can change your number again. She says yes. She gives him the new number. But this is now, by now, this is like the morning. He then says, I want to see you, et cetera, et cetera. She says, well, I was heading back to Memphis. He's like, come see me first. She goes over to the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. They, get down and dirty. They do what they do. And she gets paid when she does that stuff with him. She's always gotten paid. She's never given him any for free, ever. So she already knew that was a job. She went on there, she did her job. When she's getting done, they showering or whatever. He's then asking her, hey, they having small talk. It's all planned though. He's plotted all this out. Having small talk. They get to talking about supposedly their lives. She's telling him she's trying to, I'm trying to open up a boutique. She's trying to open up a boutique in Memphis. She was heading to LA in a few weeks to go to the fashion district or something to get, boutique clothes and all of that. He's then telling her about, what's happening with his mama. The house is broken into, etc. He trying to find his nephew. Then he's like, oh, by the way, do you know my nephew, Andre? And shows a picture. She like, yeah, I know him. He was in the club. He was making it rain on me. He had a lot of money. And he said he was a rapper from New Orleans. So he's like, well, could you help me find him? I can try. And so she ends up texting Dre. He responds. And Tim then starts orchestrating all of that. Now, Terica, then they go from the hotel after they didn't bust down, they took a shower, they go straight to a Walgreens in their separate vehicles. Tim sends her in with cash for her to buy the burner phones. She buys the burner phone, she comes to the car, Tim's truck, she gives Tim the burner phones, he starts activating them. She goes back in Walgreens. At this point, he's giving her $10,000. He says he was giving her, she said she thought he was giving her $10,000 for her to open up my boutique. But he was giving her the money to find Dre. Hunt down Dre. So she goes in, she continues to shop until he's ready. She comes back out. He gives her the phone. He says, tell Dre to only text you on this phone, this new phone, and get rid of your current real phone. She's like, okay. Like, what? Then she finds out what Dre is. Well, in between all that, she had already found out where Dre was. He was at the La Quinta Inn near the airport. Tim wants her to go. Now he knows. She's like, I was able to find out where he was for you. And so he's like, yeah, but I want you to go there and verify that it's him, that he's actually there and that he ain't sending you off and just playing no games with you. So she then leaves Tim. They part their separate ways. She goes to the airport, to the La Quinta airport, to verify that Dre is in fact there. Dre is there. He's there with his friends. She claims her version of the story is that she was only there for 10 minutes. Now, the confusing part for me is that Dre thought, at least from communication, seemed like she was going there to hook up with Dre. She goes there, her version, because that's all we get is that piece. Then you jump to her version, which is she did go there per Tim's direction. She did go up to the room. Dre was in there with his friends, a handful of friends, and they were smoking and drinking or whatever. It's like, but what was you doing? I thought you was going there to get, he just had you come there and then just buy. That was, I don't know. It's like, what y'all really do? What really happened in that room? And then she was also, she said, I want to see you. I don't need no money. Like all of that. That was to get him to, be like, come on then, don't worry about it. So why you telling him, I don't need no money? Because he know you a hoe. I'm trying to think of the word. I'm on YouTube. Anyway, that just gets glossed over. Supposedly, she claimed she went in the room. She verified that Dre was there with his group of friends, and she left in about 10 minutes. Okay. Okay. Then she's texting with Tim while she's there, telling him he is here. Tim then says, my boys aren't ready yet. Find out where he's going next. Right. Renee says, lady of the night. I don't want to call her no lady. I'm with you though, but hoe of the night. I don't know. thought of the night. I can do that one. Thought of the night. I can do that. So the thought of the night, then she's texting Tim to say that here's Dre. Tim said, my boys ain't ready yet. Find out where he's going next. So she's like, okay. So then to busy herself, she goes to the St. Louis Galleria Mall. That's where she does some shopping. She's spending some more than $10,000. She was told by Tim to make sure to stay in touch with Dre that entire time so that she would be able to know where he's at a moment's notice when Tim finally says, my boys are ready. She like, okay. So she's texting with Dre. She's on the phone with Dre just throughout that time. She was there about 3-4 hours in the mall. I think it was 4 or 5 hours. Because I remember when I heard it in the trial, I was like, damn, that's a long ass time to just be waiting around, wasting time. She then also gets her new phone activated. Because remember, Tim told her, get rid of your real phone line and get a new one. So she also did that during that time frame. Now, while she's talking to Dre is saying, hey, could you get me a pair of pants while you're there? Like, I need an outfit I'm shooting this video, et cetera, et cetera. So she ends up getting him a pair of True Religion jeans. This is the part that makes me somewhat believe that she didn't maybe think that he would be taken out. Because it's like, why would you buy True Religion jeans if you thought he was getting taken out? Because that's a waste of money. Like, and that's your money. Why not either not buy him nothing, say you got something for him, and when he get there, you ain't got it, or buy him a cheap pair of jeans? I don't know, but it just seemed kind of odd that part made me say, maybe she didn't. And she said that like, she didn't think his life would be taken. She thought maybe they were just going to confront him. I don't know about that part. I think she thought more than that. But anyway, so that's the Terica story. They kind of gloss over it in this. So I was giving y'all the deep dive version of it. That was still overview, but that was the deep dive version. Okay, we're returning at, my voice is getting tired, y'all. I don't know. I'm gonna try to make it. I just can't let it play. I wish I could let it play more. We're at 20 minutes and 52 seconds where I'm pausing.
What did they learn about her?
Terica Ellis was an exotic dancer. At the time of this murder, she was living in Memphis, Tennessee, but she was traveling to the St. Louis metropolitan area to dance at a local strip club.
Absent his murder, it probably would have been a normal conversation between a young man and a woman.
But one clue in the phone records seemed odd. Just hours before Andre was killed, Terica changed the phone she was using.
She had sent a message to Andre saying that her old phone was about to get cut off, so to delete that phone and start using the new number.
Was there anything overt in their communications which led you to believe that she might have been involved in his murder?
No, I mean, they obviously were trying to meet up, and she was trying to get Andre's location from him.
He had asked her to pick up a pair of pants for him at the Galleria. So on its face, it looked as if she was just trying to find out where he was so that she could bring him these pants.
Both Andre and Terica had been busy that day, and it wasn't until he reached the recording studio that a meeting was set. Police hoped to ask the exotic dancer what happened next.
What happened when police went to question Terica about Andre's murder?
The police were never able to locate her.
And according to friends at the club where she worked, Terica Ellis had left St. Louis the night of the murder.
So a little bit more about that too, because they kind of glossed over it. Again, they did an amazing job. They had to kind of fast forward through some of it. So when the thing that, because they're gonna get into I'm finding myself going ahead of their story. But they're going to talk about when the actual incident happened and what Terica did and all that. But I'm fast forwarding a little bit more than that. So jumping ahead a little bit, when Terica left the site where Andre's life was taken, she calls Tim. Tim, she then said, in her words, she says, "I said, what the F?" And then she says that Tim told her, get on the highway, go to Memphis, don't you stop, don't come back to St. Louis, throw that phone away, et cetera, et cetera. He ain't explained that. And she was like, "But should I go check on Dre?" He like, "Get out of town. Leave now. Quit asking questions, you stupid." Like, I don't know if he's out. But anyway, so she leaves and she doesn't return to St. Louis. The other thing is, they did, again, it was the last phone number in Dre's phone, well, besides his friend that he was talking to, giving directions to. So once they cleared that person, it's like, well, the only other person was this female named Alexis the Great. So they eventually do a social media search. They find out, this public information, it's been said. How they ended up finding out who she was actually through Darren, Dre's brother, who through his friend knew of Terica and was like Facebook social media friends, like following her. And so that friend was giving them intel, like she live in Memphis, this her, she at this club now, she doing this, this and that, and she living her best life. She ain't looking sad, she ain't sitting there with no veil over her head or nothing else. She is living it up. She's having surgeries and everything, and so doing her mommy makeovers. And so when they're talking to the investigators, the Griggs family, it's like, "Hey, we know where she at. This is Alexis the Great. Look at her. This is her social media." And they like, "Well, we hear you and we know that's her. The problem is we don't have the resources to go get her from Memphis. So if she show up back here and get arrested by happenstance or something, then we can get her and then we can question her. But we can't go over there to a different state and question her." Because this wasn't, remember, when this all first went down, they didn't know this wasn't a federal case. It turned into a federal case when they saw Tim going across state lines, creating these crimes and sending her interstate commerce, sending her after having her be a part of the accomplice, and then sending her out the state. All those sort of him flying interstate, and all of those and other pieces I ain't thinking of in this moment. That's what. Oh, and the insurance fraud and all that. That's what made it federal. That meant they then got, once they started seeing those pieces, they then got the federal, the FBI's resources. Then the sky was the limit with what they could do with this case. Oh, and they did it all, y'all. 40,000 pieces of evidence. Oh my God, in that trial, y'all, the stuff they was able to dig up. That told me that you can't have from Big Brother. You cannot have from Big Brother. So yeah, that's what was happening. So they knew that Terica, they didn't know she had like a nefarious involvement, but they was like, this is the woman, she's the last one. She would definitely probably have some insight into something, but we can't get to her because she in a different state. And it was only the St. Louis Police Department dealing with it for the longest.
While investigators
and I forgot Operation Legion, which was a task force that was set up in Missouri, right? I'm forgetting now. But it was set up because there were a lot of these sort of crimes happening, and they wanted to crack down on them. And so there was a task force created with multiple agencies, FBI, local agencies, etc., to give them the resources to try to start solving these cases to hopefully prevent them, etc. And so Dre's case got picked up and as a part of that. So that also added the resources for them to be able to dig deeper. Because otherwise, honestly, had that not happened, Tim would have got away with this. I mean, he didn't get the insurance money, but he still wouldn't have been free roaming amongst us. Okay, I'm starting back at 22 minutes and 51 seconds.
The case took another strange turn. At first, robbery didn't appear to be a motive in Andre's murder, but then investigators got a call that changed their opinion. What did that caller tell them?
The caller informed them that somebody had gone out to Andre's hotel room after the murder and stolen items out of the hotel.
The items included all of Andre's personal belongings. To police, the incident seemed like it had to be connected to the shooting.
Not many people were aware that Andre Montgomery was back in town.
And even fewer people knew where Andre was staying. Now police wondered if his empty hotel room held a clue that would jumpstart a murder investigation. Andre Montgomery's loved ones were still trying to process their loss when they discovered that his hotel room had been ransacked. To some, the scene looked similar to the burglary at the home of Andre's grandmother. But this time, the crime was caught on tape.
Police seized video surveillance of the subject leaving, and they did locate the person who gained access to that hotel room.
Investigators believe they had their first big break on the case.
He was a friend of Andre Montgomery.
When police caught up with the young man, he claimed he had just been trying to spare Andre's family the pain of collecting his things.
How did he get inside the hotel room?
He talked to hotel staff and explained to them the situation, and they let him into the room.
Did investigators buy his story?
They did. He seemed like a very credible witness. And again, they had surveillance video of him at the hotel.
Ultimately, police became convinced that Andre's friend's visit to his hotel room had nothing to do with his murder. And even though detectives still hadn't found the exotic dancer Andre had been speaking with in the hours before he was shot, they weren't certain she even had the answers they needed.
If Tarek Ellis was the last person with Andre Montgomery, that doesn't make her a murderer.
In fact, police were struggling to find a clue or a witness that would keep the investigation from stalling. Meanwhile, the reality show Andre was on, Welcome to Sweetie Pies, did a tribute episode, hoping to keep his murder in the public eye.
When I lost Andre, I was devastated. At night, I lay up and wondered who could have killed this boy? Who could have killed him and for what?
While Andre's grandmother asked painful questions on TV, his mother was doing the same away from the cameras.
I had to fight for Dre. He deserved justice. I couldn't give up.
And Michelle's persistence helped land the case file on the desk of Detective Dave Rudolph, who was convinced that the key to finding her son's killer was in his cell phone.
I went immediately to his phone and had it re-examined by our cybercrimes division.
He also enlisted the help of FBI Special Agent Chris Faber to analyze anything unusual in Andre's final phone calls, in particular, his last one with Tarek Ellis. When you dug deeper into her phone records, what did you find out?
We determined that it was a prepaid phone that was purchased on the date of the murder and then ceased activity on the day after the murder.
Faber identified it as a burner phone with a number that was active for less than 24 hours.
It was suspicious.
And the details police uncovered in that burner phone's records raised more questions.
How many numbers had Ellis's phone been communicating with?
We identified 3 numbers that Ellis's phone was communicating with on the day of Andre's homicide.
One of the numbers obviously was the victim. A second number we determined was a burner phone that was activated on the same date and also ceased activity the day after the murder. And then there was a third phone.
Pausing at 28 minutes and 23 seconds. Oh, Jesus. The total show amount is 41 minutes and 38 seconds. So it ain't that far away. But I paused it to say that Tim thought this was the perfect plan because he had burner phones. But what he didn't realize is that they can track burner phones. And then it didn't help that the way that that they were used. Tim kept his burner phone with him with his real phone. So they were able to track the real phone and say, well, that burner phone was moving all over the city, everywhere that Tim's phone was going. They were just pinging the towers. That all they did was pull the records for all the towers. And they were old, like, because of course, the crime happened in 2016. I can't remember the exact years, but it was a couple years later before they even had the resources to start trying to search cell towers and stuff. So some of that data was gone by then, but they still figured it out. They still figured it out.
Identifying the owner of that unknown third phone became a top priority. It was a prepaid phone that was almost impossible to trace. But his long career as an investigator gave Detective Rudolph an idea for tracking the owner.
What made you think to check out jail phone calls to see if any of those numbers came up?
It's a standard thing investigators do to run phone numbers that are unattributed to individuals through the jail call system.
Communications with prisoners are recorded, and the number used to contact an inmate is saved. Detective Rudolph cross-referenced his unknown cell phone number against that massive log.
When you reviewed the jail phone calls, what did you discover?
I could see that an inmate at the St. Louis City Justice Center had called that phone number.
When Detective Rudolph accessed the recording of that call, he believed the case had just been broken wide open.
Travell Hill is a gang member in the St. Louis area.
Police listened to every recorded call made to Travell Hill from prison, and one shortly after Andre's murder set off alarm bells.
2 days after the murder, his brother, who was incarcerated, phoned Travell Hill. The first thing Travell Hill's brother said to Hill was, "I hear an MFer finally got him."
The language was coded, but based on the timing and Hill's connection to Terica Ellis, police believed they knew exactly what it meant. Travell Hill was somehow involved in Andre's murder. Now they hoped that discovery would be the key to solving a terrifying mystery.
Okay, good. They were taking a break. I wanted to get through that part, but what was interesting to me, again, there were moments, and there was a couple huge moments in this show that I was like, oh wow, I did not know that. So I never knew the origins of how they figured out how Travell was part of this. I did not know that they went as far as to pull the phone number, the phone records for the jail to try to match up that missing burner number, which was Travell's burner, that they couldn't figure out who does this belong to. So they like, Detective Rudolph was like, we just combed through the thousands of pages of phone records through the prisons from 2016, y'all. This was years later that they were doing this. From 2016, I guess at that point, because he wasn't the original investigator on the case either. The original person, for whatever reason, they ended up off the case. I don't know if they retired or what, but they were no longer on the case. It got transferred to him. And then Miss Michelle found out about it later, and she wasn't happy about it. But not in like, it was just a matter of them like switching over the case to different people and not informing her because she was staying on this case. But yeah, just to see how deep they went. Like, this was nothing. I saw somebody was you can't run from God or something. Somebody was saying like this. There was no hiding. God was having the final say with this one. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I got to let y'all know. We're returning at, I'm pausing at 30 minutes and 50 seconds. 30 minutes and 50 seconds.
Police were trying to figure out why gang member Travell Hill and exotic dancer Terica Ellis would want to murder TV personality Andre Montgomery. And it took incredible police work to uncover the fourth person that tied them all together. Who is the one person who connected all these people?
Tim Norman.
Tim Norman was Andre Montgomery's uncle and his reality TV co-star. Detectives first discovered Norman's connection to him through workers at Miss Robbie's famous restaurant. What was Tim Norman's relationship with Travell Hill?
Travell Hill and his associates would frequent the Sweetie Pie's restaurant, and they got to know Tim.
Now, I had this part of the story confused during the trial because of I wasn't hip to I think street language or some. It was confusing. And then Travell, if y'all could actually hear him, y'all would be like, "Oh, Vel, we get it, we get it." So during that time, I was telling y'all that Travell was Tim's nephew from his father's side. Well, come to find out, they're not related at all. Now I did know they did mention in the trial that Travell and his cronies from the neighborhood would hang out at the Sweetie Pie's restaurant, and Tim would pay them, get them a couple dollars here or there to bust tables, mop the floors, and stuff like that. But Travell was always referring to Tim as Unc, my Unc. And so, and it was other stuff that had happened that made me think, oh, they're related. Yeah, they're not. They're totally not related. Street thug who he knew was troubled. Travell has admitted himself that he was addicted to substances, hopped out on Molly and all kind of other perks and all whatever else he was on. He admitted that. And then on top of that, now Travell will say and said on the stand that he is not a gang member. However, the detectives here said he's a gang member. During the trial, I happened to be sitting during this particular day. Well, it was a few different days, but on this particular day, when Travell was up there testifying, I was surrounded by FBI agents. They were sitting in the row in front of us, and we had become cool. So like they be talking to me, and they were watching the show at night and all that when I was going live at night. So we were talking, and they when Travell said that he wasn't a gang member, they like, he's a liar. And one of them, because these were like the younger agents, like entry level or whatever. But they were like, one of them was like, I literally did the investigation on his gang activity. That was funny. He was just up that line like crazy. Just he turned on Tim for his plea deal. But then when he got on that stand, he tried to back out of all of that. And on top of that, part of his plea deal and his sentencing arrangement, because y'all know I went there, I covered that as well, was that he couldn't appeal. He couldn't appeal his sentencing or anything. And he agreed to that. Why Travell trying to appeal his sentencing now? They sitting there sending letters and motions and trying to get documents sent to his girlfriend's house. All kind of crazy. I don't be putting all this stuff out there. It'd be so much ridiculousness. But yes, Travell is trying to appeal his case as well. I'm gonna get to the question, man. I just want to get through this show, and then I'm gonna do all the questions at the end, just so we can keep it moving. Because we got like 10 minutes left. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. All right, I'm starting replaying at 31:51. 31 minutes and 51 seconds.
Investigators also discovered that Norman had a relationship with Terica Ellis, an illegal one.
Tim Norman, met with Terica Ellis, and over the course of several years, they would exchange sex for money.
Norman lived in Los Angeles, but he was in St. Louis the day of Andre's murder.
We were able to find through his flight records, he flew into St. Louis and booked a room at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel.
Pieces of the puzzle continued to fall into place when police were able to link Tim Norman to one of those numbers Ellis had been calling on the night of the murder. GPS records from Norman's legitimate cell phone connected him to the movements of the burner phone.
Throughout the day of the murder, these phones were in the same vicinity.
The phone activated near his hotel and traveled to the airport at the same time Tim Norman traveled to the airport.
They're showing, for those of y'all who might not be watching and you're just listening, they literally showing on a map how the cell phone, the burner phone, and Tim's cell phone are moving around the city together from the city all the way to the airport. That was interesting too, because they, during the trial, plotted out all of that and showed where everybody's phone was moving at various times throughout the day. It was very interesting. I mean, they had put this puzzle together so strategically. It was crazy to watch it. Okay, we're resuming at 33 minutes and 2 seconds.
FBI analyst Andrew Wood was able to establish a timeline of the communications between Ellis, Hill, and Norman.
A worker at Sweetie Pie's had sent Tim Norman a picture of Andre in one of those restaurant locations 8 days prior to the murder.
Once he was sure that Andre was in town, Norman enlisted Terica Ellis's help. The two met on the morning of Andre's murder.
We find out she meets with Tim Norman at the Chase Park Hotel. They then went to Walgreens, and he sent her in there with cash to purchase 2 burner phones. And location data associated with those phones confirms that.
Ellis then started using her burner phone to text Andre with one clear goal.
She's actively trying to find where he is located.
By nightfall, Ellis had arranged a meeting. Once Andre gave...
So remember, that's what I was telling y'all. I was just pausing at 34 minutes and 11 seconds. Terica had been tracking and plotting on Andre since around 11 a.m. that morning. This plan didn't get fully executed until I think it was 8:02 or 8:03 p.m. is when Andre's life was taken. All day, hunting him like a dog, y'all. Hunting him like a dog. And she claims that she didn't know that this was going to be what it turned out to be. But you hunted him like a dog.
His location to Terica Ellis. What happened next?
The first thing she did was call Tim Norman.
Norman then called Travell Hill and gave him the address of the recording studio where Andre was meeting Ellis. Less than an hour later, Andre Montgomery was shot and killed outside that location.
The only reasonable explanation for all those phone contacts was to get Andre's location and lure him out of that location so that he could be murdered by Travell Hill.
And there was more. Just 4 minutes after the murder, Norman contacted a friend named DJ to come get a large amount of cash.
DJ was informed to go pick up $5,000 from Tim Norman's hotel room at the Chase Park Plaza and hold on to it.
Did he know what the money was for?
No, but he found it suspicious enough that he took a picture of the money.
DJ Beats role. I wish I had thought to take a screenshot of this too to put up here for y'all. But if y'all watching, I just paused it at 35 minutes and 17 seconds. Y'all see he got a wad of money with rubber bands around it. And one of them is like, I guess, pink or red, and the beige rubber bands. comes from the Sweetie Pies restaurants. Miss Robbie says that that's how all her money, that's what they did to the money. Oh, and it's blue rubber bands too. I forgot. I see them now. The red and the blue rubber bands. That's the money. That's the rubber bands that come from the collard greens and all the other stuff they wrap, the vegetables and stuff. And they use it on the money. Same wad that Dre had. Same kind of wad. Looking the same. So the DJ Beats story part of this, and now I don't think they get into this part. I'm gonna play the rest of the DJ Beats part and see what else they say. But I don't think they say much more than this. So we're resuming at 35 minutes and 17 seconds. Oh Lord, thank you, Jesus. We're almost done.
Told police that 48 hours later, Norman asked him to deliver that money to Travell Hill. Was there any doubt in your mind that that was the payment for Andre's murder?
No doubt in my mind.
Okay, that's good. Just pause at 35 minutes and 37 seconds. Janae L, you gonna pay for my attorney fees if I start? You said call it Sweetie Lies from now on, please, Bill. Y'all got to realize this is a platform. It's a business. I have to be mindful of what I say and do. Do you know that can be considered defamation? Do you know that I could potentially be accused of the downfall of the restaurant that's supposed to open in the future? Gotta be careful, y'all. I can't be reckless. I can't do what y'all can do. Y'all can do some of that stuff. I can't. I'm very strategic over here. Anyway, so the DJ Beats part of this story. So DJ Beats was a longtime friend of Tim Norman. He also was and they did music together and all this other stuff. DJ Beats was a part of Tim did that video that ended up on BET. Some of y'all saw that foolishness. I think it was more than one. I can't remember. But anyway, DJ Beats was working with Tim on music stuff. He and Tim also were friends. And so from time to time, DJ Beats ended up testifying at the trial. So that's how I know so much about this. From time to time, DJ Beats would hold money for Tim. Tim be like, hold this 10K for me. Hold this 20K for me. Don't know why, but that was what he did. I guess he ain't had no bank. Thank you so much. She's the one. I thought I was going to struggle to read that, but now I see she's the one. Thank you so much for joining the membership, friend. I'm going to go through the rest of the list of the rest of y'all in a minute. So DJ Beats was used to, handling money for Tim. Didn't really say why. And I think he said he didn't know why. He would just hold it for him. Okay, we're going to go with that. DJ Beats on the day of before Andre's life was taken, Tim had been going around town. He was going to the different restaurants. He was getting the drops. A little bit for them, a little bit for him. Putting some money in his black duffel bag, putting some money to the side to actually take to the bank where it belonged for the business. So during one of those, him running around town, he ends up meeting, yes, was it All Eyes on Me? Yes, Tim has a music video. He had at least one, and I've actually played it on this channel. Can't tell you where, though. We got so many videos on this stuff. I can't even tell you where. But you can Google. I think you can probably even search it in YouTube and might pull it up. If nobody's pulled it down. But anyway, DJ Beats ends up having a meeting with Tim at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel in Tim's hotel room. Now, DJ Beats was under the impression that they were meeting because that Tim's video was being released on that coming weekend or the following weekend or something. It was coming out soon on BET. So that's why he thought they was there. He's talking about the business, et cetera, et cetera. He says Tim and him met for however long. It wasn't that long, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. He then leaves. He goes about his business. He's hanging out with his girl. He then gets a call later on from Tim saying, hey, man, I had to leave right away to go home to LA. Could you do me a favor? I left $5,000 cash in a black duffel bag at the hotel. Can you go get it for me? So now Tim has set it up that DJ Beats knows exactly where he's going because DJ Beats was just there earlier that day for a meeting with Tim. and Tim tells DJ Beats, he says, hey, and by the way, I had it for a couple extra nights, or extra night or whatever it was. And he says, you could actually stay there as well. Just I need you to hold on to that money for me, and I'll tell you what to do with it whenever. DJ Beats then arranges to go there with his girlfriend. They were going to stay the night or whatever. They get there. Remember, Tim had been there earlier that morning with him and Terica, and it was like a little suite. So I think him and Tim had met in the front part, and then there was the bedroom part. When DJ Beats was there earlier, he wasn't in the bedroom part. When him and his girl get there, Tim tells him the duffel bag is basically a nightstand on the side of the bed. DJ Beats and his girl go in there, and there's condoms thrown about in the room. Is a mess. The bedroom part. The girl's like, I'm not gonna be up in here with this. I'm not gonna be getting up behind nobody with all this going on. So she didn't want to stay there. And so DJ B says he grabbed the money that Tim told him, which was where Tim told him it was, and then he grabbed it and they left. Now, then Tim calls him 2 days later. Now, this is after Dre has passed away. DJ Beats is also now aware that Dre has passed away. DJ Beats says, Tim calls him and just says, hey, could you do me a favor and take that $5K that you got to my cousin? No, I don't even know if he said my nephew, but he said to Travell in the Peabody projects. And so DJ Beats is like, why you got me going to the projects to do this? And he's feeling all shaky about that. He feel like something wrong with this. Something ain't right. So because he was nervous about it, he asked his brother to go with him, but he also took pictures of the money. Now, I don't know what taking pictures of the money gonna help. If somebody say, no, I gave you more than this or less than this or whatever, I don't know how that helps, because he's like, you take a picture, what you I don't know. I don't know how that part works. So anyway, I think he also made Travell hold the money and him take a picture with it in Travell's hand. I think I remember him saying that during the trial. It just came back to me. So anyway, DJ Beats, because he thought it was a suspicious situation, he took a picture of the money while he was in his truck. And I think he said he took another picture with Travell holding the money. I think that's what he said. So anyway, that's how DJ Beats got involved. But he basically got used like everybody else. Tim was playing chess and he was just moving his pawns all around the board, just moving them, shifting them around, with the idea of them all just jumping Dre at the end. Craziness. All right, we're resuming at 35:37, 35 minutes and 37 seconds. We're going to finish this out.
And investigators continue to follow the money right back to the motive, a fraudulent life insurance policy. What did Tim Norman stand to gain if Andre Montgomery died?
He stood to gain $450,000.
Detectives discovered that Norman had illegally signed up for the policy, posing as Andre Montgomery, and had made himself the lone beneficiary. In the end, was Andre Montgomery's murder just about money?
Yes. Andre Montgomery was murdered for money. Pure greed.
So that was from Angie Danis. One of the lead prosecutors did an amazing job on this case. She says, like I told y'all, depends on who you ask. Now she's, been a part of the investigation and everything. And she says that, yes, in fact, I thought I had her picture here. I don't know where it's at. But she was saying, yes, in fact, it was definitely, Tim did it definitely for the money. Maybe I didn't pull it in. Okay. We're resuming at 36 minutes and 24 seconds.
In August of 2020, Tim Norman, Terica Ellis, and the alleged shooter, Travell Hill, were all arrested for their roles in a heartbreaking murder-for-hire plot. Ellis quickly accepted a plea deal in exchange for her testimony. What did Terica Ellis say happened that day?
Tim Norman asked Terica if she knew his nephew, and Terica said yes. At that point, Tim Norman offered her $10,000 to track Andre down.
Alice claimed she had no idea Norman was targeting his nephew for murder. But once she located him, she passed the information on. Alice then met Andre outside the recording studio, and as she left, she heard a flurry of gunfire.
Right after the shots were fired, she immediately called Tim Norman, and he says, take yourself back to Memphis and don't come back here.
She drove immediately back to Memphis. Mr. Norman also told her to dispose of the burner phone, which she did.
Alice was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her role in Andre's murder. Travell Hill also agreed to plead guilty and testify against Norman in exchange for a 32-year sentence.
What did Hill say Norman asked him to do?
Mr. Hill met with Tim Norman the day of the murder. Immediately thereafter, he purchased a .380 caliber firearm.
Hill said he used that brand new .38 caliber pistol to kill Andre Montgomery after he was told where to find him. In September of 2022, Tim Norman's two co-conspirators played a key role in the prosecution's case, as Norman stood trial for being the mastermind of a callous murder-for-hire plot against his own nephew.
What is the most compelling evidence you had against him, Norman?
Fraudulent insurance applications, the purchase of the burner phone that's only used the day of the homicide. The testimony of Ms. Ellis and Mr. Hill. All of that formed an exceptionally compelling explanation as to what had happened.
Andre's mother, Michelle Griggs, listened to the details in stunned silence.
How difficult was it to face Tim Norman in court?
Listening to how he plotted to take my son's life. I was numb.
The prosecution's case was overwhelming, and the jury found Norman guilty of all charges related to Andre's murder. Describe the moment the guilty verdict came to.
My arm made it into this. For those of you who, I'm pausing at 39 minutes and 55 seconds. If you notice, that's my arm with the flowery white shirt on. That's us when they were coming out of the court, when the Griggs family, this was after Tim was convicted. He wasn't sentenced yet, but he was convicted. This was in September of 2021, right? September, whatever date of 2021. So we're filming the family, like we got the heads up that they were getting ready to come out. And we're, you know, was I live? I don't know if I was live in that moment, but at least I was recording. And so was J So Extra was there. Oh, you see the pictures. I forgot. I'm saying to talk about it, forgetting I put this up for a reason. In the blue, you got J So Extra, her new, she changed her channel name to Today's Celebrity News, I think. And then you got Chronicle Speaks in the plum. I think that's purple or plum. And then myself in my little white and multicolored Hawaiian shirt. But yes, that was us out there filming the family coming out for their victory celebration after Tim was convicted.
Yeah. It was just a relief. My brother finally got the justice he deserved. And he could finally, rest in peace.
Norman was sentenced to life in prison. Still, the verdict was bittersweet for Andre's loved ones, who had lost so much.
I spent time in the military, protecting the country. But I can't take my own brother. I'm supposed to protect your younger brothers and sisters. And I wouldn't even do that for him.
My brother comes into my dreams. I know he's somewhere better.
Your love for Andre is so obvious when you talk about him. What do you miss the most about him?
His smile. He had a very infectious smile. His laugh. He was so loved.
In September of 2022, Miss Robbie closed her famous Sweetie Pies restaurant in St. Louis, marking at least a temporary end of an amazing 25-year run. I'm Paula Zahn.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Paula. And thank you, ID Channel, and whoever else is in charge of this production on the case, all the good stuff. Good job. Good job. Thank you so much, Centauria, friend. I appreciate you for always sharing the love, sharing my content. I appreciate you. Okay, we're going to do some questions, and then the ones that I've started, and we're getting on out of here because my voice is tired. And I'm supposed to come live tomorrow, y'all, and Friday. And I'm the way I'm feeling already, I'm like, oh, Jesus, I got to get a good night's sleep. Getting up fresh. Okay. Poll question I'm closing out. Did you know that Terica served her time and is now out of jail? 68% of you did know. 32% of you did not know. Yes, she only received 3 years, and then she got time served because she was already in jail about a year or so before the trial. And next thing we know, the trial was in September. She was sentenced in maybe January of that following year, if I'm not mistaken. They changed the date so much I can't remember off the top of my head anymore. But I think she was sentenced in January of that year. Or was it before that? I forgot, but they kept changing her date too. But anyway, by I think August or so, June, July, August, one of them, she was free. She was free. And somebody said she's out there living her best life. Like, oh, Jesus, I got 30 of them selected. Something wrong with this. Selected a lot of comments. Okay. Oh, thank you to my new channel members. I don't know how to pronounce this. What is this? Essingen? But thank you, friend, for becoming a member. Jackie, thank you so much, friend, for becoming a channel member. Tasha 50, thank you so much, friend, for becoming a channel member. Miss AMJ, I'm just do y'all all together. Marlena B. These two, y'all, Miss AMJ and his MJ throws me off. I keep thinking it's I think it's the same person sometimes. Then my mind wants to say it one way only. Rachel, friend, thank you. Shaquia, friend, thank you. And RN Smith, all welcome to our new channel memberships. Tama, y'all got some new emojis. I want to see them. They're special emojis only for channel members. We'll have them, I'm adding way more, but they're going to be great for tomorrow's show with our Surviving Darius Crooks. They're done. There you go. Thank you, Alice. We got the suckerette alert emoji. We got the LOL emoji. That's supposed to be a little cartoon face of me. We also have a Velnito emoji. It's a what the F emoji, but I'm saving that one. That's coming out next with the next round. We also have a flying monkey emoji, and these are all custom. I made all these. Well, I designed them all. Had somebody do them, but all concepts out of my mind. And then we got the I declare, or I is a crook. Basically, Darius Crooks got his own emoji face with the one eye crooked, one facing this way, one facing that. Yeah, I did that. Anyway, so tomorrow we're gonna have some fun with those. Anyway, Aaron M says for Dre to say that Tim doesn't do his dirty work makes you wonder what other dirty deeds Tim orchestrated. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you think that the episode was scripted when Andre and Charles ran to Miss Robbie scared of Tim? No, I don't think that was scripted at all. Miss Robbie did actually fire Tim for a brief moment when all of that went down. No, that was real life. That did happen. That absolutely did happen. AR is saying, damn, she had that much cash in the house. Yes. Some people will say what people are saying on the street. I saw a comment. I ain't gonna say who, but I saw like a tax evasion, retirement plan, because that would be unreported money. So some people say, ain't no way she had $2 million. Oh, it's very possible that she did. It's a great retirement plan. You ain't got to report it. And there's a lot of cash that went through that bill. Y'all got to keep in mind, what, Sweetie Pies was hot for close to a decade? Like big, lines around the corner on every restaurant. Thank you so much, Donna Hammond, friend, for becoming oh, it's still here. It's right here. I can click on it. Thank you so much, friend Donna Hammond, for becoming a channel member. And then Jessica's saying, what about Tim's dad? Is he alive? Wonder what he thinks about this, if so. No, Tim's father is deceased. Tim's father was unalived by, he was unalive when Tim was 9 months in utero. Tim wasn't even born yet. And the father was, somebody rolled up on him while he was sitting in a car in front of a restaurant and capped him in the neck. Yeah. There's a history with the men in that family. Like there's a lot going on. The men in that family, for some reason, they don't survive. I don't know what that's about. I'll have some conversations. People have theories, but anyway. Deborah says that over-the-top so-called robbery trashing the house looked like overkill to me. Yeah, it did. Like when you really, actually, even for the show, I thought maybe they staged it a little bit, and I wasn't even sure if it was completely true until all the other stuff started hitting the media, and I was like, oh, that robbery really did happen. Because it's like, who's flipping over beds and pulling drawers and just like you can't find what you're looking for. You by accident, you just throwing the jewelry across the room. The way that that was a lot. That was a lot. In every area of the house, it was a lot. Jessica, how does Monique feel about Tim now? Monique and Tim seem to be close on the show. They were. I'm not sure how close they are now. They don't talk. That you're not gonna hear from Charles. You're not gonna hear from Monique. They are family. They are sticking together on whatever level they can. You got to also keep in mind that these people are tied to their livelihoods. Although Monique doesn't work at the restaurant, Monique has had opportunities that were based on the financial blessings of the subjects you speak of. I don't know how else. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. So no, Monique has not spoken out publicly. I don't know what her personal feelings are about that. She told me I could be a little shady, but she liked me. That's all I remember. When I talked to her during the trial, she's like, "You good, but you get your little stuff in." I do. I gotta keep the people entertained. AR said, "Did Robbie show up for the trial?" We covered this, so you may have asked this before, or maybe you came in late. I thought I remember she was still supporting Tim. First part of your question, did she show up for the trial? Yes. We thought she was testifying. She was supposed to testify. Can't say why she didn't. Obvious, probably to some people why she didn't. Then the second part is I thought I remember she's absolutely still supporting Tim. She's supporting Tim in his appeal process. Now she's funding it. A very expensive attorney who represented Bill Cosby. She's still absolutely backing up her son. She says she might as well work with the one who's here. Try to say the one who here. That's her philosophy. Mama V has said, okay, wait. Tim and Dre dad had same mom, different dad. I'm catching up. Yes, they had different fathers. Tim's brother, Big Dre, was like over a decade older than Tim. They didn't really grow up together. They were too far apart to actually be living together and all of that kind of stuff. Remember, Miss Robbie was on the road like during Tim's adolescence, and during that time his brother was teenage plus years and had moved across the country at a certain point and all of that. So they weren't close and all that stuff. Not like that. I'm beginning to think that more than I initially thought was scripted, including the scene where Tim and Robbie went back to Natural Bridge. That was the consensus or people opinion out there about when they went to the Natural Bridge location where Andre was killed. And then they also talked about his cousin, Monique's brother, being his life being taken around. Like think in the alley of a block over or whatever, like basically on Natural Bridge. And then Tim's father was also killed on, I keep saying the word, I'm trying not to, unalived on Natural Bridge a few blocks down. 3 relatives taken out on that. So they did that episode. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. I can't say everything. But yes, okay. Renee S. What was Robbie's response to him passing the lie detector? Your guess is as good as mine. Ms. Robbie has never spoken publicly about Dre since the show. Since those episodes. Do your own calculations. I've given you the formula. Do your own calculations. Never spoken about Dre since the show. 2016. That's about to be 10 years and 2 more years. Publicly, she has not, is what I'm saying. Or to certain family. Let me stop. Let me get off here. I'm getting tired and delusional. Did she close all the restaurants? Mommy V, currently all the Sweetie Pies locations are closed. Yes, there is no Sweetie Pies location that is in operation. The last one to be closed, wasn't Mississippi was the last one? I always kind of now get it confused. I think Mississippi was the last one. The flying, I was about to call it the flying monkey. What was it called? The flying bird in Mississippi was her last restaurant to be open. She closed the Upper Crust location. No, did she close the flying monkey first? Did she close that one right after Tim was convicted? I done got it all confused, y'all. It's too much information up there. What's the yep for Marlena? Which one? I'm throwing two scenarios out. Which one closed first? But anyway, but now there are no more open. However, oh, and that's what happened. That's what it was. She closed the flying bird. I keep wanting to say flying monkey. She closed the Flying Bird restaurant in Mississippi. It was only that one in the Upper Crust location open. She closed the Flying Bird because Tim had got convicted. She doesn't live in Mississippi. It was too much for her to try to run a restaurant in a whole different state. And she was getting driven back and forth and stuff by people because she wasn't, doing that traveling on her own. Then she only had the Upper Crust location open. However, the Upper Crust location got taken by eminent domain by the Cochrane Veterans Hospital. I'm forgetting the full name, but it's Cochrane's Veteran Hospital, which literally hovers over that restaurant. Like, it's just massive. It's right behind it. You probably might have noticed on the show if you ever watched the show. They mentioned that on the show over a decade ago, that the VA hospital was trying to get Miss Robbie to sell that, they were trying to take her building, take the land. It eventually happened, whenever that was now. I can't remember. But just not even a year ago yet, maybe close now. But yeah, so that made her not have any restaurants. However, she is actively trying to build out a new restaurant on Martin Luther King Drive and Kings Highway, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to be at the old Family Dollar or Dollar General, whatever it used to be called. But she's also trying to acquire the property next to it, I think for a parking lot or something. And that owner is not responsive. So she's trying to now do eminent domain on that property so that they'll have parking and whatever else is going on. So guys, it's in the process. They have meetings and this and that and da. But yeah, that's all I know about that. Anybody from St. Louis who might have any updates, feel free to send it to me. But that's all I know for now. Did Sweetie Lies ever retract her blame on Dre? I answered that, so no. I don't have a problem with Terica throwing that ass in the circle. My thing is with how much she did know. I don't think she knew what Tim planned on doing. Yeah, I'm not completely sure. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with I'm about to call. I'm so tired I can't even think of the word. Not escorts. What do they call? Exotic dancers. I don't have a problem with that either. Make an honest living. Do you? It takes all kinds. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that piece of her either. And it may seem like it when I'm joking and stuff to people, but I honestly have no judgment on that. But I do have judgment on her actions. I don't know. It just almost like when I did the character witness reading for Tarika before her sentencing. And y'all got me in trouble because y'all had me acting up, and then I get in the court and them people was threatening me. The family, Tarika's family was threatening me. We gonna get you. We know you gotta walk out of here. But anyway, give me dirty looks in the court and everything. Anyway, when I did that, it was a lot of talk about, her being such a Christian, going to church going lady, all these plans that she's gonna help young ladies who have taken the wrong paths in life and da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's happening on a maybe it's brewing. Maybe stuff is happening, we just ain't privy to it yet. But her social media does not represent any of that at all. I have not seen anything that looks like she has repented or feels bad about what has happened, besides her crying in court. Besides that, during her sentencing. I don't know, y'all. God never sleeps. Amen to that. What is that? Teeny T. Alice is saying, show Trevel's brother isn't related to Tim. Now, I don't know if you know something I don't know, Alice, but the way it was explained to me is that they are not related. Now, I didn't think to ask, well, is the brother related? Because the way I heard it, they are not related at all. It was just that Tim knew him as a kid who was knew Trevel as a kid hanging out on the street, give him a couple dollars. They hang out in the restaurant, clean up, blah, 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 help out. Hey, I got this food to unload from this truck, loaded in the freezer kind of stuff. That's all I know. So, yeah, but I don't know if you know something I don't know about the brother being blood and him. Because I remember the way I heard it, because I didn't just make it up in my mind. I heard it somewhere that Tim's father, that Trevel was related to Tim through Tim's father's side. That was what I had heard, but I don't know, y'all. It's so long ago, I can't even tell you where I heard it, how I heard it, none of that. Teeny T says, I'm new to your channel and I love it already. Hey, man, friend, I appreciate you, Teeny T. I hope you check out some of our other content. We have some other series around here. And then we got some other stuff I got coming. I got to get refocused. It's hard for me. I'm juggling. I'm only one man, but I got some other content I've got coming y'all way too. Do you think the Cena episodes? Oh, okay, I answered that. With Tim jumping on Dre and Charles. Yes, that's true. It happened. All eyes on me. Tim has a music video. Yes, he does. Let me see if I can find it real quick for y'all. Yeah, I'm laughing thinking about it. Tim Norman music, maybe. I don't know. I didn't even see it. Wait, there's two of them out here. Wait, no. What's that one? Somebody mentioned, and somebody I saw in the chat saying that this ain't even the one I was thinking about. Here's Tim Norman's video. I can't play it of course, on here. It probably wouldn't get copywritten because Tim Norman is gone. Oh, maybe this is the other one. Maybe it just looked different. Oh yeah, okay. Just even got a couple pills. Oh, Tim, you just get. Hold on, y'all. I gotta share it a little bit. This ain't even a part of the show. Oh, hold on. I ain't even see this other one though. Oh, let me put this in the chat before I forget. Here's the one I'm about to play now. So both of these are Tim Norman's music videos. I need to be careful before he do try to copyright strike me. Can he do that from jail? Where is it? Here it is. Make it full screen. Yeah. I only play a little bit of it. I ain't gonna play too much with it.
Whip a couple pills, gotta pay a couple bills. Trying to hit the studio and buy my girl some better heels.
And then as you see, I'm gonna mute the rest for a minute. And then as you see, he's in prison. Miss Robbie's in there. So this is the only one I knew of, but I'm seeing that there's the other one I put in there first in the link. Yes, because he got the one with the Migos. So he paid them. Anyway, this one's got, let me see if I can find Miss Robbie in here. Here she go. Here she go. Oh no, I passed it too quick. So it's got what's the name of this one? I forgot the name. Home. Him coming home. Let me see. Here go.
I'm just trying to make it home.
I'm just trying to make it home. Too late, sir. Too late. Too late. That ain't happening. I don't care how much you appeal. I did see somebody else ask about the appeal. Is this it? No, I guess I didn't start. AR is saying, yeah, I just looked at her social media. She doesn't seem bothered. She's living her best life. Yes, that's in regards to Terica. Oh, I want to see this Migos one real quick. I'm only going to start. I ain't going to do too much with it. It's 4 minutes. I've never seen this one. And somebody was saying, is this accurate? Janae, you saying Tim has a video with Migos, Tre'vell, Terica, and YL are all in it. Now, I knew about Tre'vell being in this. I don't know about Terica. Where you see Terica? I ain't never heard that. YL, I hadn't heard that, but that's still kind of possible. Let me see what this sound. Yeah, because okay, this is the okay, because they probably in this scene with all the people. Hold on, I keep messing that up. Now, who I do see, I hope y'all ain't mixing up. What's her name? Danielle Champion, who played as Tim's assistant on the show. A fake assistant, because that was scripted. She told her own story. She has a YouTube channel. She told the story how that was scripted. She went to a casting call thinking she was applying for an acting role in St. Louis. Found out it was for the Sweetie Pie show for her to play Tim's fake assistant. I want to hear a little bit of this. Let me see.
Wine for the honeys, kush for them hoes, and them ones is for them bitches licking honey.
Yeah. I don't see no Terica up in here though. I think y'all mistaken Danielle Champion. Well, I don't know. Let me see. Y'all think the Migos got rights to this? Y'all think they even claiming this anymore? Okay, I'm gonna have to watch this later. But I don't see no Terica. I don't even see Tre'vell right now, but I do know he's in this. Oh, there's Tre'vell right there. Hi. With his little beer gut. He still had this little beer belly too. At the trial. He had more of one. He had got fatter. From his testimony through the trial to his sentencing, which was about, I don't know, what, 6 months later. Now also you see his friend from the show, the guy who was the cook, I'm forgetting his name. He's in the background too. Him and Tim are real close. That's not Terica. I don't know if y'all thought that was Terica. I don't think Terica's in this. Y'all got to remember, Terica was told to stay out of St. Louis by this time. This is all in the aftermath. He even has rap lyrics. Okay, I'm going to stop because I'm messing around and mess up this whole video. Been a guy copywritten over this foolishness. But yeah, by this time, Tim had told Terica to stay away from St. Louis. So I doubt she's in his video. He didn't want her being associated with him. And I don't see YL in it either. But I can I'll watch it eventually, maybe. Y'all asking this YL there. Hold on. I don't want to put it back on screen because I don't want to take no chance. Because if this gets copyrighted, then I got to go through all this drama to fix it. And then I have to edit the video and it'll make the chat disappear. And then I had y'all mad at me because the chat went away off the video. I don't think YL is in this. I'm not seeing him so far, and I'm 2 minutes and 40 seconds into it. I could probably share a little bit. Look at me pushing the envelope as usual. I'm such a rebel. I'm such a rebel. Oh, this is the picture I always use. I never knew where it came from. I just got it offline off Google. I'm gonna have to I gotta use this. I gotta come back and get this. He's such a lame, such a poser. Oh, maybe this. No, that wasn't true. That's not YL either. That's not YL either. That's what's his name from the show though. I don't know who that is. That's not him either. That's Migos. That's very fitting, that scene right there with him looking red like a devil. Oh, what I was going to say, on the show, they actually, okay, that's it. On the show, they actually show in one of, go to the end of the video. Why are you saying that? Hold on, let me go to the chat, live chat. You said go to the end of the video. I was at the end of the video. I'm at the end of the video. There's nothing happening. There's even less happening at the end of the video as far as the people. Now, 2 minutes and let me see. 2 minutes and whatever that was is the last time you see a group of them. This is the last scene with a group. The rest of it is this individual shots with just him and Amigos, and then solo shots here or there. Unless you're talking about these, but ain't none of these people YL or Terica. And again, we saw what's his name? Travell. You'll see them all. I'm still not seeing them all. What part of it, when you say the end of the video, give me the minutes, because your end ain't quite the same as my end. Vel, when you watched, look in the comments in the video. Someone has all of them time marked. Did you confirm this though? Because just me being a person who's always online and researching, people will send you off. You see how many comments here? You see all those comments? I ain't got time to try to find that. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. I wouldn't even know where to start. If I'm spending that time on them comments, I could be catching up on my own comments on my own videos. Anyway, but yeah, that's it. That's all. I'm glad that we got to. I did not expect this to be 3 hours. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do about an hour or so. But we will be back tomorrow live. I need to figure out. I'll pull it together. We got stuff to cover tomorrow, but we'll be back for our Darius Crooks, Surviving Darius Crooks series. We got a lot to talk about. Oh my God, it is dizzying how much we got to catch up on. Darius Crooks is now back in the US of A. So she has promised us that she is about to turn it up, and she's already started, cyberbullying. So we're going to cover some of that, and we're going to do that tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Is that tomorrow, Thursday? Tomorrow, Thursday? Oh, today, Thursday. It's Thursday already. But today, or later tonight, and Friday, we will have our Darius Crooks, Surviving Darius Crooks live content. So with that, I thank all of you. Please hit that like button if you haven't. If you're joining late, please hit that like button, share this video with all your friends. Please also consider joining our membership, our channel membership, for special emojis, special live streams, special posts, exclusives, etc., etc., etc. So with that, until next time, until later on today, y'all make sure to take care and be blessed. Peace.
When Dre came back the last time from being in St. Louis, he wasn't living with Robbie at the time. He came back and he said, Mom, he said, if anything ever happened to me, just know that Tim did it. What are you talking about? He said, well, just know Tim don't never do his own dirty work. But I got that fatal call from her about Dre, and I didn't want to answer the phone. You know, I just didn't want to answer the phone. And then she hung up and she called right back. And then that's when she was like, well, you know, the detectives was here. And already my heart is already slowing down, you know, and to the point where they want her to go down to the morgue to identify that was him. That was it. You know, it was like, it was so surreal. Everything was just rolling around. I'm just like, not my son. You know, not my son. Not my son.